I think it's time we grow this dream. Get everybody on the mics together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, podcast. Hey there, Space Cowfolk. Welcome back to the sudden but inevitable Rebop. I am Captain Bootscoot, aka Vanilla Husband, aka your host Jesse, and I'm here to take you through this podcast where we bring two anime-resistant first-timers through Cowboy Bebop a couple of episodes at a time, depending on how we're feeling. Now, I of course cannot do that alone. The first thing that I have to do every week is introduce my lovely co-host and anime veteran, I might add, at Miss My Armcast, Kylie. Kylie, how has your week been so far?
It's been a busy but good one. Just glad to be here after what seems like forever, But yes.
No kidding. We have had an interesting couple of weeks here at SBI. Last week, of course, was the week of hashtag TMA PodCon 21, and with it came all sorts of, shall we say, fun little details. Now, none of those fun little details would have fallen into place, of course, without the next person that we have to introduce, the first of our anime-resistant first-timers, the head of the Twist My Arm Podcast Network and the host of the Twist My Arm Podcast, Josh. Josh, how has your week been?
It's been great. It's been so much better than last week. Those little weird things you were talking about were more like technical difficulties that basically shut down my entire streaming service for a couple days. So thank you guys for taking the reins last week. And thanks again to Joanna for killing it. You guys were able to stream. I was in the background watching pretty much the whole time, running tests, like test after test after test. Josh. And there was a couple times where you were like, "Can you look that up for me?" And all I heard was, "Josh, can you look that up for me?" And I was like, "Oh, crap! What did he want me to look up for him?"
It was actually, they were mostly jokes, but the funny thing was that periodically Josh would put in the private chat, "Okay, I'm gonna jump in, like wave if you can hear me," and nothing would happen. Like, he would jump in and we get nothing. So it was awful. But yeah, and and I will pass your thanks along. Joanna had a wonderful time. She really liked playing the part of Mrs. Sudden. I told her the first time that I had used that, and then she thought it was cute, and it just kind of stuck. So yeah,
I like it.
But I should also probably say thank you to my lovely wife Joanna as well. Thank you, sweetheart. That was a lot of fun, and it's the kind of thing that is not new for us here at Sudden But Inevitable. Every time that we have a small mishap or like a sudden but inevitable emergency, we just reach out to the people around us and a show magically happens, usually with about an hour's notice, which is just I can't even express
makes me giddy.
How wonderful that makes us feel. Yeah, it was a lot of fun and we had a blast. So, but we are also very, very eager, of course, to get back to our regularly scheduled Bebop, and we can't do that with just us three. We, of course, have to introduce the beautiful shining soul that makes up the last part of our crew here at Sudden But Inevitable, our second anime-resistant first-timer, Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D, who recently guested with me on Bedwet or Behead. Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D, how has your week been, my friend?
It's been pretty good. I had fun on the Bedwed Behead podcast Wednesday night. Is that out yet, or is it going to be a couple weeks?
It will be a couple of weeks. I have the release date, and I might even be able to find it before this show is over.
All right. But we do have that to look forward to. It's just a fun podcast to go on. So I was excited to be there. I'm excited to be here. We're just having a good time.
Just having a good old time.
If I may, You're sounding great this week. Not that you don't sound great every week, but sometimes there's a little bit of a variance in the clarity of your voice. And right now, it's like hot buttered jazz, and I deeply appreciate it.
Hot butter.
It's like
I would-
it's like a mushroom samba kind of. It's
Oh,
very
what
clear.
an apt way to put it, Josh. That's so apropos. Of
I
course,
want to give Ricky a shout out and thank him for letting Justin and I come crash his best flicks.
yeah.
We had a little TMA mashup last weekend, and we called it Quest Flicks. And we reviewed episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, and a little bit of The Bad Batch. Just a little bit, though, because, that show. But
'Cause, you know,
whatever. It was
This
fun.
is-
Thanks, Ricky.
This is not
Absolutely.
me calling anybody out. This is me sharing my genuine loving experience with you guys. When I watched back through that video, the part where you and Justin started talking about Bad Batch, Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D's eyes glazed over, and he like slowly starts tipping out of frame, and then realizes what's happening and comes back, and I was like, why are they talking about this show that he's never seen? But then I remembered that's what Quest Me is talking about, so yeah, it was just that moment was really great, and I definitely recommend that you go check out Quest Flicks. We love to smash words here at the Twist My Arm podcast network. Another thing that we love to do is say hello and thank you, and we couldn't live without you, to our wonderful supporters in the live chat, which of course, just like every other week, includes Callie D and Rona D. Hello, ladies. We're so happy and grateful to have you with us. Good morning, Callie. Good morning, Rona. They missed you last week, Josh and Kylie, but it was great to meet Joanna. We have the coolest listeners and viewers, folks. I know that I say that every week, and I'm not even going to qualify that. That's the end of the sentence. So,
And trust me when I say that Kylie and I missed you as well. I was very frustrated that we couldn't be doing a show last week, and I'm sure
Yes.
Jesse and Ricky can attest to that. And Kylie.
I can say I was certainly bummed, but it was an existential crisis for
Well,
dear Josh over here.
It's like
so.
pulling my hair out. I'm a
Yeah.
little bit
Poor
more
sweetheart.
bald.
But it was important that he spent that time making sure that everything was good for the PodCon, and from what I understand, that was just ravishing. So here
Oh,
we
yes.
are. Life is good.
it truly went off without a hitch. Our dear friend Sean from Cheap Seat Reviews had a bit of a thunderstorm going on. He is in the North Carolina area, which is currently a bit of a hurricane area. Don't worry, I did check in with him earlier today. Everything is fine. He's just got some cloudy skies. Definitely go check out their most recent episode where they talked with V from Life Paranormal with V about the movie Resident Evil. Sean claims that those movies get better as they go.
Resident Evil?
Yeah.
Are you not familiar?
No. I am, but I feel
okay.
that claim is the inverse of true. Anyways,
Anywho.
back to the wonderful viewers and listeners for our show, right? Josh, did you have something to say? I'm sorry.
I feel like Sean is wrong there. I don't know though. I
I
mean,
agree with you. I mean, seriously, they get worse and worse. The movies are 100% a downhill.
dude, it's like it's Fast and Furious, but like
Yeah.
horror style, and it's just awful.
It's the first graph you ever saw in school where they show you a line just going in one direction. Like it's the same graph. But really quickly, back to our wonderful viewers and listeners, because that's what we're really here to say thank you for. We do have a birthday to celebrate, and that birthday happened on Tuesday this week, and that is Listener Marie. Listener Marie also, I believe I told you last week, wore her very cool Sudden But Inevitable t-shirt, and I got to see it in person. This week, we have a photo of said Sudden But Inevitable t-shirt to share with you that my friend Josh is diligently working away.
Yay!
There it is. Look at that. I don't remember the name of that. I think it's Teal Heather is the name of that color. But man, look at
What a
that
good
shirt.
color.
I asked-
That
First
is a
of all.
sweet color.
Yeah, exactly. I asked her,
I
is
like
it
it.
comfortable? I need to know. She said it's so soft. I love it. Very comfortable. Happy
So-
birthday, Marie. We're very, very, very grateful to have you aboard for the Sudden But Inevitable Rebop.
Yes.
Absolutely. And looking good over there, I might add.
No kidding. It's one of those. I'm biased, right? Anybody has something with us on it, I'm gonna enjoy that. But I think objectively, that's a great photo. I think that's all there is to that. Now,
Yes.
speaking of great photos and great supporters and listeners, we also have our very, very good friend Rosie. I don't believe she will be here in the live chat with us this evening. She has a lot of homework to do. But as the first ever owner of a sudden but inevitable V-neck T-shirt. There's our friend, Miss Rebop.
Yay!
Is
Looks
she at like a
great.
bar or something?
I
She
was gonna
is.
say
Just
Our
killing it.
listeners have so much more fun than me going out and
it
just
looks
living
like
it up. Look at that.
really
I haven't
cool.
been to a bar.
She also wore that. Ladies and gentlemen, Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D is of age. I assure you.
I haven't been
No,
to a
I don't mean
bar.
I don't mean ever. I just
Oh, okay. You didn't
at least
qualify.
2 or
yeah.
3 years.
This
Rick-
is-
Yeah.
Ricky, do you want to hang out, man? Do you want to go to a bar?
Let's go to a bar, Ricky.
I need somebody to hang out with, please.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, I want to go with Rosie.
Well, honestly, that does look like a good time. I mean, she's looking cute. Her
Oh.
hair is fiery red, and
Yeah.
she's at a pretty neat looking bar.
We
For
know
sure.
that Rosie is a good time waiting to happen. I mean, the woman is nothing but love and support, and we can't thank her enough. You might think that that would be the last photo that we have to share with you, but of course it isn't the last photo that we have to share with you. The last photo that we have to share with you is our friend Phil, who got a very snazzy best hat from Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D.
Yeah, I love
And
it.
some
He is
eye candy for
showing
the
it off.
ladies.
And
Yeah.
look at that very classical halo framing effect he's got going on there.
I
It's
know.
Like, if
looking
you-
good.
If you pull the levels around on that image, you might get a very cool accidental Renaissance style photo. Have you guys ever
You
seen
know,
that? On the
I
internet?
I love it.
actually asked Phil. He told me he bought the hat and he sent me a picture. And I asked him if we could use that picture. And he went over and he took that second one that we just showed. So that was very intentional on his part.
It's an excellent photo. The man knows how to light a pic. Callie D seems like she may be a little bit jealous of the Best Flicks hat.
I had one more with my little sister. Yay!
And
She got
hats.
a little T-shirt.
And hats.
It's great.
Little
Great.
sister Josh.
I
And
can't. It's
this
not.
one's
It's
in-
not.
Oh,
It's not doing it.
I don't mean to do that to you, Josh.
I was
Um,
trying. Let me see.
okay.
Maybe I can.
Rest assured that Josh is...
There we
we
go.
go.
Yeah, it's the same shirt that I'm wearing, actually.
Yes.
all in the family.
And
That's
don't they
so
look
Shameless.
alike? They are just
Shameless.
both so cute, man. Love
I
it.
love it. Yes.
Yeah.
Really quickly to address listener Callie in the chat, are you planning on having hats for all the shows? Yes,
Is
we
there
are.
anything wrong with a Best Flicks hat, though?
So,
Do
I mean,
we
that seems like a
need
good place to
any more?
start.
oh, I didn't even realize that, Ricky D. That's a good point. I guess just by asking that, that's sort of what she was implying, huh? Wow.
Actually,
So,
we have a
There's-
TMA hat.
Yes. Please
Got
show
a
the
couple
hats.
other
There's a
things
TMA
there.
hat. I
Got
believe
the new
there's
tank top.
I think there's more than one best hat, isn't there? Oh, we're working
There
on seeing
is.
the best hat.
There's a
There's a
beanie.
beanie
Yeah.
for your fall needs coming up.
Oh.
What?
Ooh.
Yeah, we got a fall line that we're
Ooh,
working
it's
on.
one of those big ones you can push it like pull over your
Yeah.
eyes. Look
Yeah.
at this.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. But yes, to answer
Totally.
your question, Callie D, there will be hats for every show. And to that point, we are this close. We're probably 1 or 2 days away from the season 1 Firefly themed Sudden But Inevitable tour shirt going up on the show. We're just waiting on a couple of dotted T's and crossed I's before.
Just waiting on a
we
couple
put that up.
contracts to go through. Just
Yeah.
need a couple lawyers involved. You know, the main. When you're an
Gotta get a
award-winning
hold-
podcast, you gotta get the lawyers involved.
Oh my
Gotta
gosh.
get a hold of a notary. There's a lot of steps involved, folks.
We got a notary right
I'm
here.
Totally a notary. State of Colorado.
Mine recently expired.
Don't-
Oh.
Okay. The following reference is a test. Don't compromise, notarize.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, with that out of the way and a good chunk of the listening audience totally alienated, let's have Kylie jump right into the synopsis for this week's first episode, session 17? Mushroom Samba?
17?
Session 18? Session
17.
named Session 17, Mushroom Samba. Miss Kylie, please take it away and then append your very fun facts to the end.
Fun. Okay. After the Bebop crash lands, Ed and Ein's search for food turns up some very expensive mushrooms with psychedelic side effects. This one in particular, of course, we had the the classic rock references. This one though is my true favorite Led Zeppelin. There was quite a few though actually in this episode. I think first and foremost, the most obvious was when we met the frog.
Yeah.
And basically, you know, the stairs that he's on gets longer and longer and longer, and that's the reference to Stairway of Heaven, one of probably Led Zeppelin's most famous songs, really.
And it's being
but so-
guarded.
Yes, but some of the other fun ones, the restaurant that is featured in this episode is called Moby Dick. That could be an homage to, you know, the classic literature Moby Dick, but it also could be Moby Dick the song by Led Zeppelin. And then also the mushroom dealer. His name was Domino. So this one's a little bit of a stretch, but if you like Led Zeppelin, you like Jimmy Page, and you like Robert Plant, right? So Domino is actually a 1999 Jimmy Page song. Yes. So that one was a lot of fun. But then, of course, I do have to mention coffee. Coffee is obviously Coffee, Pam Grier, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which is okay. Yes.
Coffee.
And that point will come up, but yes.
Yes. So I mean, that one was definitely pretty obvious. Then, of course, you got your Shaft references.
Shaft.
Exactly. So for that reason, it was a lot of fun. There was I think the first sign, I didn't really know what the movie was, so I had to look it up. But the sign in the beginning of the first episode here, the 17, is an homage to Paris, Texas. It's an old movie as well. So this one was just chock full of super fun Easter eggs and references. And you know, when it comes to Led Zeppelin, my favorite, like I just couldn't get any happier. So that's what I got.
I'm only asking this because we just spoke with Meg, who's from Wisconsin. And you've talked about having family on the East Coast. Do you also maybe have family up Minnesota way?
You know, no, I actually.
Oh, we lost Kylie's mic.
Better?
Nope.
No. Better now.
No luck.
I can sing a cheer while we wait.
Okay. Anywho, so no, I actually do get made fun of a lot for the way that I say things. I don't know where it comes from. I've born and raised in Colorado, and I do have family on the East, but I say man and ham and a lot of things really weird.
Well, and just to clarify, I am not making fun of you. I have the maternal side of my family is all Minnesotan. And when you got the way you said just chock full, I was like, that is the most wholesome, excited, Midwestern sounding I've ever heard Kylie sound.
I do actually, I gotta say, I have an old neighbor friend that I spent a lot of time with. We're really good friends still now, and she's from Minnesota. So I wonder if maybe, still here. I wonder if maybe I do get a little bit from her.
Phil in the chat points out that Ricky's threat to sing is probably what made Kylie's mic work.
It's a cheer. It's not singing.
I think you said sing a cheer, didn't you?
Okay. But cheering is the idea of what I was going for.
Gotcha. Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D is a very fair arguer or argumentician. I don't know what the word is. Thank you, Kylie, for indulging me. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I totally agree with you. And I think that's part of what makes this episode so amazing. Ricky D and I have been talking about this episode since last week when we finished watching it. Joanna didn't watch it, and Ricky D and I still couldn't help talk about it last week because it was like, dude, but next week we get to talk about Mushroom Samba, and it's going to be so good. So
it was good.
To your Pam Grier point, I last week had asked Ricky, who did this character remind you of, this badass bounty hunter gal in this episode? Who does she remind you of from other movies? And my first thought was I had flashbacks to Foxy Brown, Foxy Brown.
It is Foxy Brown. That's still Pam Grier, but
right. And I was like, why am I thinking Foxy? Oh, and then you said Pam Grier, and I was like, it all makes sense. Thank you so much.
I can't remember the first name of the characters, but the last name is Coffin, and that's why she's called Coffee as the character.
Yeah. I went straight to Foxy Cleopatra from Austin Powers.
Well, Foxy Cleopatra is based on
her.
And then also that show Drawn Together. that character
yeah.
is Foxy Brown too.
Foxy
Yeah.
Love.
Foxy Love, yeah.
Yes.
So
And for the
And-
crazy Adult Swim people, you had Boxy Brown from Adult Swim or from Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
exactly.
brother.
So Pam Grier though is totally huge. It was unmistakable reference for sure.
Yeah. And just to throw another one in there, because I feel like we're on a roll. Weren't they talking about Pam Grier at the table in Reservoir Dogs for a minute?
Oh, I'm sure. I guess I haven't seen that in a
Oh,
while, but
yes.
I've not seen that in a while.
Yep.
Thank you,
Like
Ricky
at the
D.
beginning of the movie when they're all kind
Yeah.
of getting together and
So another Tarantino movie.
yes.
I don't tip. I-
Time
I don't
is
tip.
a flat circle. We know, Josh. No, I know. I get it's a reference. Okay. So now
I
that
do
we're
tip.
ready,
I tip pretty freaking hard, by the way. Just to let you know, if you deliver pizza to my
Anybody-
house, you get a good tip.
anybody who's ever worked service industry or retail is generally a good tipper, unless you earn a bad tip. Am I right, Josh?
Yeah, but even then, like,
Okay. Oh, I never give no tip, but I will
Yeah.
give a bad tip if you earn it. Okay. Now that we are about to talk about Cowboy Bebop,
Tips
thank
are
you,
also
live
an
chat,
American
for
thing.
putting
by
up
the
with
way.
us. Oh yes, European fans. I think they know what tipping is, even if
They
don't.
do, but yes.
Yeah. So the first question I wrote down, let's ask Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D first, because I feel this might be an emotional turning point. Hungry Ein. A little bit funny or only sad?
I'm so good.
I can agree that it's a little bit funny.
Okay. I was worried that it was going to be like, he's going to dismiss this episode so fast, and then
Nah.
okay, good. I'm so glad.
I
And
do.
Kylie, that was great.
There was like the final shot of the episode where Ein was just standing in front of his food bowl full of mushrooms, and probably funnier.
Yeah. Funny is relative at every moment of this episode, correct?
Yes.
Can we all agree at the start of this discussion that this is the funniest episode of Bebop up to this point by a mile?
No argument.
It's good,
Yes.
yeah, totally funny.
absolutely.
Oh, look at that, Kylie. Kylie D says, we also tip, just not as extreme. She spelled it with 5 X's. No, she didn't. I'm just kidding.
Well-
Like
With
10% usually, but our staff gets
think-
more money. You're right, they do.
I think overseas they have to pay everybody a pretty decent wage. They don't have that like
Exactly.
you get paid $2 against your tips kind of thing.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's messed up.
So this immediately after, I mean, basically after we get Hungry Ein, we get Bell Peppers and Beef, a nice throwback to the very start of the series, which it made me feel like I've been watching this show with you guys for like a year, but I know it's really only been like a month. Like, isn't that, it's been like a month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy to me. But I do love that we get an actual hit and run in space. And
Yeah.
then one of the characters just says, I believe that's called a hit and run. Cool. Didn't come up with a new term for that.
Yeah,
Did anybody
I
else? Go ahead, Josh.
the first thing in my notes is I finally figured out what that ship reminds me of. The like big, the big ship. Is that the Bebop? The big ship is the Bebop, right?
The main ship? Yeah.
Yeah, the main ship. Okay, cool. So the Bebop, whenever it's the frontal view like that, it reminds me of the ships from Super Mario Brothers 3.
Oh, the airships.
The
Yeah,
floating airships. Yep.
100%.
I finally figured it out this episode. It was like,
Oh,
I
man.
don't know, for 17 episodes, sessions, I've been like, what the hell does that remind me of?
I am on the last castle of World 6, the ice world, where it's like 3 castles in a row and then you play the last castle.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, man, I was playing that probably right up to the last 40 minutes before the show, and I got repeatedly crushed, and I had to repeatedly continue, but it was just...
Dude, I'm going to go play that game now after this show.
Yeah.
Start it
It's-
over.
It's intense. And to your point, the nostalgia for this show is so strong, I think, because it has things that are reminiscent of other things, and it has the DNA of things that we saw after it, like the beginnings of those things, right? There were so many
Right.
things that were influenced by Bebop. There's just like this wonderful, like Kylie said, it is chock full of references to everything. And it's, yeah, this whole episode is, my face hurt at the end of this episode from laughing and smiling. I
Yeah.
really, really love this episode.
Even from the very beginning, and to your point about Ian getting food or not, or Ian, sorry. I was a little sad at first, but then when he got that last little morsel after Ed had that ridiculous scream, I love the 90s screams where it's as high pitch as it can possibly be. Like Home Alone when dude gets the spider on his face and it's like the highest pitch scream ever. Those things just, I was already dying at that scene. And then
Yeah.
Ein gets the little piece of food and I'm like, good for him. He deserves that food. He's a good dog, the goodest dog.
The goodest of boys. Is anybody else a little bit panicked that apparently one of the policies they have is just let Ed wander into strange deserts alone?
Yeah. What? Well, I mean, Ed just kind of wandered on the ship, didn't she? Like,
She did.
she was just kind of there.
Okay. Here's a question.
Well, it does seem that Faye is the one that sent her to do. Sent her to do that.
Yeah. And that's a very good point, because the question I was going to ask was, even if you're not a parent or, have nephews or nieces or something, if there is a minor around, is there not some part of you that just feels a little bit responsible for that minor? Like, you know what I mean? Like if you're the only adult in a place where there is also one other person and that person is a child, like, just kind of de facto, there's some responsibility on you to not be like, hey, yeah, wander into the desert and catch a criminal. Like,
Is Ein a minor?
Ed?
No,
A minor?
Ed.
Ed, sorry, Ed. My bad.
Ed is
I was
absolutely
reading
a
the
minor.
comics.
She
Ed
is
is,
13.
yeah, like totally a child.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
I'm going to agree with Josh. I didn't have a set age for Ed. I could have gone with 14. I could have gone with 24. Like,
And like, to
both
be
those were
honest,
equal options.
even when I was
Yeah.
13, 14, 15, I was running around the streets of Loveland by myself. So like, it
But there
doesn't
is-
really
You
like.
know, it's
there's almost no chance that you suffer heat stroke and die from exposure in the
No.
streets of Loveland, but it was
And
mostly
I don't mean the
just to make the
streets,
point
but
of like, I was mostly just making the point that none of them were like paying attention, and Faye's
Yeah.
first instinct, to Ricky's point, was to be like, yeah, why don't you take care of this? Like, I would have somebody
Yeah.
else do anything at all times, but Phil, yes, the rough streets of Loveland, Colorado.
I didn't mean that.
I'm glad Phil
The
said it. I was
streets.
thinking it too.
Callie says,
It's like Loveland's most wanted over here. The streets, from the streets of Loveland.
actually, you know what? If you think about it, there probably was a moment where Josh was Loveland's most
Oh,
wanted.
dude, we got pulled over 4 times in 2
now that I
days.
think- There were
No
a couple
joke.
of
small
times.
town.
There were a couple times that I was not with you, and you came to wherever I was, and I was like, "Why are you late?" And you were like, "I got pulled over again," and I was like,
Yeah, dude,
"Are you serious?" Like,
it was awful.
it was kind. I mean, at a certain point, it was a little bit funny, but
They're like,
only
there's
in
that Chevy
retrospect.
Lumina again. Pull him over. There's something there. Just do it. Doesn't matter.
It was.
I don't know,
was
Callie.
bad.
I did, but it's. I mean, I don't know.
If you're
Moving right
driving, if
along.
you're doing a lot of drunk driving over 2 days,
He
you'll get pulled
wasn't.
over. Right?
He
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
even. I have been
No.
in the
I was-
car
Yeah.
with
What?
a lot of drunk drivers, but none of them was ever Josh. From my personal experience, I'm not saying he didn't drive drunk. I'm saying I was never in the car with him while he was driving drunk.
No.
Because I don't
no
wanna
one,
speak for
No one
Josh.
is, because I don't drive drunk. There are
I would
plenty of
assume
things
that.
you can do. I do not condone any sort of drinking and driving. I don't really
I
even
thought you were
drink
gonna
that
say
much.
Drinking.
Although I am drinking a little whiskey tonight because I do like some whiskey. And every time I watch Cowboy Bebop, I feel like I gotta indulge a little bit.
Cowboy Bebop has that effect where
Yes.
we lost Kylie's microphone again. I'm very sorry. I don't mean to be a frustrating.
Here we
Francis.
come a trucking in. Don't you wonder where we've been?
Even the microphone's like, shut up, Kylie.
There-
I don't
no,
understand this.
The microphone wouldn't do that. Go ahead, Kylie. What did we miss? What did you say?
Oh, I don't know. Probably nothing important. And yeah, it's okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Much appreciated. So I think that as long as we can all just accept that this episode gets really, let's just say, weird halfway through, right? Like, the whole setup here is that they're looking for a guy who is dealing illegal psychedelic mushrooms. So right away you're thinking, okay, there's gonna be some great visuals in this episode. This has to be a fun episode. My personal recollection of this episode was basically nil, and so I will admit that I thought for probably the first 30 or 40 seconds of Spike's little moment there that it just wasn't affecting him. I was like, oh, Spike's too cool even for drugs. It's not affecting him. And then, of course, we smash cut, and it is totally, totally affecting him. Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. Which of the repeated hilarious smash cuts in this episode would you say was your favorite?
I think just going to all the different characters after they had consumed the drugs. Also, I want to point out that Ed, no matter what age she is a scientist.
Yes.
Because she found out she saw Ein. He got high from the mushrooms. So she goes, okay, is this something that only happens to dogs? And then she starts basically drugging everybody else on the ship and observing their patterns, which is exactly what a scientist would do.
Mm-hmm. I loved Ein though, as he's, feeling all good. He's just like poof, 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 poof. Yeah.
Tripping.
So cute.
For whatever reason, I could only hear that Dr. Dre song every time they hiccuped. I would just hear that da 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 da. It's the just that's what I would hear in my head. It'd be the hiccup and then da 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 da. For whatever reason.
Yeah. So I think that we can all agree that watching Ed microdose people from the shadows was deeply satisfying.
What do I call it? Oh my god, I have it in my notes. The testing of the mushrooms. Let's see what happens to all these guys.
Sounds like a ballet name.
Right?
The testing of the mushrooms.
When you would expect like a government-funded title plate before that, right? Like study number X119753222.
Yeah. Taking notes.
Subject footage, yeah. But as I was watching it and laughing and like trying to stifle my laughter because it was 11 p.m., I was thinking, this isn't actually bad advice to give your kid, right? At a certain age, your kid is going to start going to parties. They're going to start being around people that are doing drugs. So instead of just telling your kid, hey, don't do drugs, because that's just going to make them want to do drugs, whatever you tell them not to do, they will try to do, right? So you just tell them, hey, watch what happens to other people first, and then decide if that's how you want to act. Now,
fair. Yeah.
It's a good call.
It may not be enough, because I also remember being, 19. But Kylie, do you remember being 19 last year? How was
I hated
it?
magic
Being 19 last year. I do remember being 19. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I lived in an apartment and it was very, very, very hot.
Oh man.
Yes.
So speaking of hot, this takes place in the just most oppressive, well-animated desert heat. And these shots that we get in town, right? This guy, Kylie, he's carrying around a coffin. Not only is that incredibly just viciously badass, it's also ridiculously over the top and anime tropey, right?
Sure.
And they immediately just wipe that trope off the board, but they do give it to us for long enough to be satisfied by it, I felt like. But to you, did that just feel like every other anime you've ever seen?
I'm not really sure if maybe that's what really but there was a point around that time where I was like, oh my gosh, this is super anime. And it's when the Shaft guy, he says his name is Shaft, right? Or his last name is Shaft.
Shaft.
But like he says something and like something ridiculous happens in front of him and he's just like he points and he just like has that crazy face. I thought that was
Oh.
quite anime tropey.
Oh yeah.
I think that's when the train was going by, wasn't it?
When the train had
Maybe,
just
maybe.
destroyed the coffin. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where yes, exactly. So I was like, okay, anime right here all day.
And that character was like in any other anime, that character is a 5-6 episode arc, right? Because he's got deep-seated hate and he's been chasing this guy forever and he's
Right.
getting sick of carrying this coffin around and he's got just
There's
like
a drug involvement.
yeah, he's an ultra gangster. Like it was just I love that character. And I love that they
It's cool.
immediately are like, okay, this is over the top. Let's get rid of that. Okay, here's the rest of the story. Like
Yeah,
it was-
yeah, and it destroys the coffin, and
Yeah.
it is funny because it is another anime trope where like, so, you know, a character will come up and be like, "Oh, like you killed my father," like, you know, things like that, and then all of a sudden it just like shoots him down, and then they're gone, and they're like only there in 30 seconds. Like, why is this character even part of anything? So happens all the time.
yeah. And so back to the sorry, Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. Go ahead.
Yeah, this episode kind of brought up an interesting thought in my mind. There are a lot of TV shows that have like drug-induced episodes. I can think of. I'm sure everybody in our chat is going to remember the Buffy episode.
I was gonna say
Beer
that.
is bad.
I was
and-
I was thinking that one.
Yeah. And that's where Buffy basically she's in college at this point and she does a lot of drinking and it kind of skews the entire episode. It's kind of a like anti-alcohol PSA, but it's also like a drug-induced episode of the movie. I also thought there's a episode of 30 Rock and Community where there's like a gas leak in the air vents. And it gets everybody basically seeing this different reality, and they're just these really fun episodes that don't really fit in the timeline, but they're also really cool and interesting. Can you guys think of any other shows that have stuff like that?
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh man, I mean, like,
I mean, not on the spot. I got to think
Yep.
about that. But no, I mean, it definitely.
there's some in How I Met Your Mother. There's a couple
Oh,
I'm sure.
episodes.
When I was thinking, don't you love? I can't remember what the actress name is. It's Willow and Buffy, but she's in How I Met Your Mother too.
Allison Hannigan.
Lily.
Allison
Yeah, she's so
Hannigan,
cute.
yeah.
I know there
Anywho.
was I think there was one in that 70s show, right? Where they all got like a little too drunk and then
Well,
they
it's-
found out.
They
think
they
they
always get
ate-
really
I
stoned.
think
Yeah,
they ate mushroom
yeah.
they
brownies.
ate mushrooms
though.
or they ate like space cakes or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I-
no, yeah, I
yeah.
mean, all the best shows has
I mean-
some sort of psychedelic episode.
The-
I'm thinking like Family Guy and things like that. Always
That
have
one,
stuff, but-
thank you, Kylie. That one where they're stuck in the house and there's a storm outside, and Brian the dog has some psychedelic mushrooms.
yeah.
He goes, "Hey Stewie, I'm gonna eat these, but I need you to like hang out with me, you know, in case anything goes wrong." And then when he goes to do it, Brian goes, "Here we go," and Stewie goes, "Yeah, that's what my friends always say when they do it. They go, 'Here we go.'"
Yeah.
That person pretending to be cool in a way that sort of scares them but feels fun and dangerous, right? Like,
Yes.
I
No, totally.
like that. I like that we didn't even get to that point a temptation for Ed here. Ed wasn't like, "Oh, okay, then I'm gonna eat him," you know, or "I definitely have to learn now. I want to see what it's like." She
Oh,
just
God.
went, "Okay, then I'll just wait until they're all better." And
I remember being 13 though, and that was when, you know, just maybe because my neighborhood or maybe it's just normal at this age, that's when you start, you know, having friends or their older sisters, older brothers start doing things like that. And I remember when I was 13 being like, I'm too young. I'm just a baby. I got to get out of this situation, you know? So maybe that's what Ed was doing.
I was always the observer. I was just like Jesse was saying earlier. I would watch my friends and be like, "Yeah, go ahead, eat those. Let's see what happens. I'll watch," and then decide for myself if I really wanted to eat them. I
I would
never
like
did.
to say, I would like to say hello, welcome, thank you, congratulations, and get ready to have this comment shared to Valerie in the chat. who was the winner of our hashtag TMA PodCon 21 t-shirt by virtue of sharing
And
one of
sticker
our
box.
hashtag TMA PodCon 21
There's going to
t-shirt
be
and
so
sticker
many
box
stickers in that
by
box.
sharing one of our comments. It's going to be huge. She's been very supportive of us the entire time that we've been making shows, and it's not just this show. It's Marvel Canon Madness, it's Best Flicks, it's TMA. It really is all of the shows.
Yeah.
So the comment was, mushrooms taste like sunflower seeds. I know that from my past. Quick question then to that point, Val. The psychedelic effects that are animated in this episode seem very, very, I would assume, based in reality, because it's the kind of thing that you hear in like Pink Floyd song, right? Or every time you see it animated in another show where somebody's on drugs, it looks like this. But this is much more subtle and unnerving. So like there's a scene where they're looking up at the corner of the room. I think Faye is looking up at the corner of the bathroom, and the seams of the room are just sort of shifting a little bit. Like the whole walls aren't crawling or anything. It's just the edges are sort of moving back and forth from where they should be. And that camera holds itself there for a long time. So I'm wondering, is that a realistic thing that is like they really nailed that? Because I'll be honest, it felt like they went, okay, who in here has done mushrooms? Draw a picture and we're gonna animate it. That's what it feels like they did.
Sure.
Well, I can speak on I have eaten magic mushrooms a couple times in my younger days. I can't. They're decriminalized now in
They're
Colorado.
totally
so it's
legal
fine.
in Colorado.
But anyway, it is very similar to that for sure. Especially if you get the visual one, the walls kind of like do that. It's not as extreme as later in the episode, like when Spike is just slowly stepping on the stairs
And it just and he's just
Like-
stepping on the one stair. Yeah.
and just staring down. Like I feel like in one of my trips I have done that before, just like walking in the same spot for an hour, looking at the same
Well,
spot.
I think that
But-
like the space is something that does kind of it either like shifts or it expands. I think that's something that's pretty normal with psychedelic psilocybin.
I think that was my favorite smash cut because the mood and the energy and the music and the atmospherics are so heavy when you're in Spike's POV looking at this just miles long staircase that has no end, and you're like, oh man. And the smash cut is him lifting each foot like half an inch and putting it back down.
Dude, we
And it's
died.
just like
Yeah.
staring at him like, what is happening? I was like, I literally paused it because I was like, I'm gonna miss the next 15 minutes if I'm not like, gosh, I actually have tears in my eyes now thinking about and trying to stifle the laughter of remembering that shot. Like,
Yeah, it's I don't know, that was great. That whole like Ed looking at everybody, watching everybody, like Ed and I walking around the ship, just like what's going on over here, and then seeing Jet talking to his bonsai trees. Yeah, that's so simple. That is the answer to all things in the universe.
Who am I?
Yeah, I mean, this is brilliant. It was brilliant.
like as an afterthought, who am I? Like he gets to the end of it and he's like, wait, who am I? Like,
Wait, who am I?
Right. It's so
Awesome.
good.
oh my gosh, so well done. Thank you, Valerie, as we say here, for letting us know it's fairly realistic that things do move. We appreciate that. Like we've said at the start, this is the funniest episode up to this point, and I think for me the most impressive part about it is that it is so funny. And to Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D's earlier point about how a lot of times the drugs episode doesn't really feel like it fits. It was just there because there was some sort of obligation to do it based on the audience or the target audience. And somehow in Cowboy Bebop it just fits because
Yeah.
these are all adults. They're perfectly capable of taking care of themselves, making their own decisions, surviving all kinds of stuff. They've all had, alien food poisoning and lived to tell the tale. They didn't even need really to explain the last half of that story. So, I mean, it's a perfect setting to put this without it feeling out of place. And that's actually a really good point, Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. So thank you for making it. I didn't even write that down. That is entirely organic to you. You're the man. Since
The
you are the
man.
man, do you feel like there's anything we've skipped over up to this point in the episode that you'd like to talk about?
No, I'm excited to get to the mushroom chase scene.
Mushroom chase scene.
100%. Josh and Kylie, do you feel like I've blown past anything you'd like to talk about?
I feel like we didn't talk about how Faye kind of got what she deserved in this episode. Like first she ate
the rations.
and then tried to blame it on Jet and then just pooed her brains out.
Yeah, and then just barfed.
But
and-
then she got a second bit of karma and went and ate the mushrooms. Like she didn't learn the first time not to eat what's not
yeah,
hers.
it was something that you don't know about, haven't looked into.
Yeah. How did that even happen?
I don't know. I guess, if you're that hungry though too, I mean, you never know what you do, honestly. People
Right.
eat people.
It's
I mean,
true.
Well,
they were gonna eat Hein.
That's more intense than what I was going to say. Wow.
Leave it up to
I was-
Kylie to take
yeah.
it to the limits.
Jeez.
Push
I was
it
going to
the
say it's
limit.
in character for her because she's selfish sometimes. But people do also eat people, Kylie. Dang.
People do eat. Well, I mean, in
Uh,
moments of desperation, usually. I mean, I guess there are some craze out there, but like the Everest story or whatever, you never know. If you're in that sort of situation, oh my goodness gracious, these people are already dead. I don't
This is
know.
90% of why we have a group chat for TMA podcast, just so we can check up on Josh, ladies and gentlemen. We just need to make sure at all times that he is okay.
Yes. He's not very meaty, so he's probably safe.
You're right.
I'm just
He
looking
would-
through my notes.
Yeah, to a cannibal and only to a cannibal, Josh would be useless. Like,
Right.
Yeah, dude.
100%.
Nobody wants this.
Yeah, that's
There's
but only in
nothing
that-
there. Like they just slurp my veins like noodles, and that's about it.
Ooh, gross.
You just gotta be hungry again in an hour.
Right.
I didn't get to talk about how the music at the very beginning of this, the very much mushroom samba,
Mhm.
very much reminded me of Mushroom Hill Zone from Sonic and Knuckles on the Sega Genesis. It was like super reminiscent to that music, so it was very on point.
I have to agree with you 100%, and it definitely sets the mood, right? This episode,
Yeah.
I felt like had the highest immersion for me so far. Like, I put my headphones on and turned off the lights, and then I was, at the end of this episode, I was like, what just happened to me? Like, I feel like I
Yeah.
was just on drugs.
Well,
It's a
and-
very, very well done thing.
And then realizing after they sent Ed and Ein off to go get food, realizing that it's an Ed and Ein centric episode, I got even more excited because those are obviously two of my favorite characters. So getting that episode where it's those two and a story about them is the best. Oh, nice.
Is that Faye?
It is. I don't have the Ed or the Ein, but that is Faye.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
And my last note before we get on is, did you guys watch this with captions on?
Of course.
Okay.
How dare
Did you notice the song? There's this like the song.
Yeah,
at the
there was a
beginning.
weird song.
The only thing that they show in the captions from the song is "I left my head over the chicken bone."
Yeah.
Those are the only lyrics you get to read from that song. Everything else is pretty
It's a bizarre
hard to
song.
hear, but
Well-
that's the one thing that you get to hear is "I left my head over the chicken bone."
So, I have two things. The first thing is, I feel like in this environment of mishmashed cultures and, Eastern infused jazz and Western infused anime, the like mistranslations and phrasing approximations are almost just fine. Like it's almost like that could be intentional because it would be
Right.
an almost 100-year evolution of what we've got now. Like,
Do you
it
think that was
just fits.
not intentional? Do you think
I
that was
don't- I-
a translation mishap? Because
That's
Dang.
my point. That's my point. Is I have no idea because it's like there's some weird phrasings in the lyrics of the music to this series,
Right.
where you kind of wonder about it. But I don't know. I mean, it's to your point. I definitely felt that effect was there of like immersion from that, and then immediately was kind of like every time we watch an episode, honestly, since we talked about it at the start, like they really did write the music with the animation. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
the two things can literally not be separated from each other, which is just beautiful. The second thing that I have, because I'm still in a little bit of a mood from the Bedwed Behead podcast that I
Oh,
did
no.
with Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D, where we talked about The Mummy from 1999,
Oh,
is this character. I'm sorry, did one of you catch the lady bounty hunter's name? Her actual Coffee. It's Coffee, right?
yeah, coffee. Yeah,
Hottest character overall up to now?
coffee.
Yeah.
I'll let Ricky answer that
I
one.
mean, I mean, not hotter than Faye. I don't think.
Yeah.
You don't
Faye's
think?
always got the stockings and the short skirt. And there's also
And
the
pretty hair,
oh jeez,
sassiness.
big
Boobs?
shouts, big
Oh,
big
oh, the big shouts.
Oh, the bounty
lady.
hunter lady with the
yeah.
"How do you keep that shirt on" shirt.
Oh. That was so Ricky, I thought you were trying to come up with a creative way to say big chest.
Oh no. What's the
And I
show
was like,
called?
this is so smooth.
No,
It's
but it's
called
big shouts. You're right.
Big
Big
shots.
shots for bounty
Oh,
hunters.
that's right. And
Thank
ours
you.
is big shot. Yeah,
shouts.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Awesome, you're getting that confused.
Totally.
No,
Okay,
yeah, I was
so-
going for big shots, not anything else big.
Speaking of big shots.
One of you with an internet connection, can you go to the Cowboy Bebop wiki and look up the name of that lady from Big Shots? Because
Yes.
I think I might put this poll up to like 3, so it'd be Faye, Lady
Uh-huh.
from Big Shots, and Coffee. Are there any other entries you guys think we should allow?
I mean,
Should we throw a guy in there?
Yeah.
well, Spike would win. But what about
Right.
Julia?
You
I
think so?
mean-
Dude, I think Spike's nemesis is a little bit hotter.
Oh,
Philip says Judy. What about Rint?
What's his name? What's his name?
about-
Vicious.
Vicious.
Oh,
Yeah.
we could throw Vicious
See,
in there.
Spike is way prettier than Vicious. I like.
What about
Yeah, but Vicious will, dude, he'll do things to you that you'd never even dream of.
what about
Who's
about-
to say Spike is not capable?
Spike's pretty vanilla. Look at him. He looks vanilla
He's
AF.
Super
Missionary all the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Sorry.
Wow. The level of agreement that they just reached on that in like 1.5 seconds was deeply impressive. And good Lord, has Kylie turned red, my friends. Josh just leaned all the way off camera. I don't think he's as embarrassed as she is, though. Wow, I don't remember what we were talking. Oh, what about Rint with the tight pants? Maybe we could put him in the poll.
Oh,
Uh,
Rent. Oh, and he
says
also
Punch and
has
Judy.
boobs.
No, that's Gren.
Oh, that's
Gren, yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
Gren's also pretty attractive as well.
Wrong, strange cluster of consonant sounds, Kylie. Come on. All right.
Right.
So we get to this crazy, very cool train chase, right? This podcast
Thank you, Rhoda.
is truly an education, according to Ms. Rona D in the live chat. Thank you, Ms. Rona D. Speaking of D's, Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. Let's have you introduce us to this very cool train chase, right? It's definitely got Firefly vibes to it.
Oh yeah.
Makes it close to my heart. It's got heavy Western elements. Go ahead, my friend. Talk to us. What did you love so much about this train chase?
Well, it starts off when Ed and Ein are chasing, is it Domino? They're
Yes.
chasing him away from the hit and run ship where he's just growing tons and tons of mushrooms. And we also get to hear a little tidbit where Domino, he's picking his mushrooms. And he goes, "This one's no good." And he throws it into a bag. And that kind of leads to a question for the end of the episode.
Mm.
But from there, Ed and Ein chase Domino off of his ship. There's a train coming by. What's the guy carrying the casket named?
Ooh,
Shaft.
I don't think I wrote. Oh, I think that one is Shaft.
Shaft. Okay. And so Domino
Edition.
and Ed and Ein are running right into Shaft, and there's a train coming through, and Domino just barely gets onto the train where Shaft and Ed and Ein have to take chase, and also the Pam Grier shows up at this point, and we're all running after the train. We're all climbing on the train. We're having kickboxing fights on the top of the train. That's where
I
it
have
took
to
us.
ask. Yeah.
I will.
and that's-
Ein and Ed are tag teaming. She's like, "Oh, go Ein!" And he all pops up, and he's like, "Woof woof woof," you know.
Well, and
pretty
they had to catch up with that just wickedly adorable scooter, right?
Yep.
But
Dude.
I have to ask Ricky D from Best Licks with Ricky D and Josh, what did you guys think about the animation in this chase? Do you feel like the quality was lowered with the sense of speed and motion and the stretching out of everything, or do you feel like it was just a well communicated thing? Because I know that usually in anime, when we get quick motion or like a long distance shot, we usually lose detail. So did that mess with your immersion, or were you guys just fully on board and ready? On board, get it? And ready to go?
Now this episode was perfect from like beginning to end for me. Like pretty much my favorite episode of the series so far. And so those little tiny tropes didn't bother me as much because everything else was so good. The comedy was good. The story was good. The mushrooms looked good.
We were also,
you know,
we were in a kind of place where we were looking for comedy at this point, and the fact that Ed and Ein are on this scooter chasing him. Yeah, there's some weird motion. It doesn't look, but it's so much fun.
Right.
Yeah. I can't wait to see it live action.
And I think for me that was the moment where I was like, okay, I can probably relax. Like, yes, she's 13. Yes, it's just her and this corgi, but like everything's going to be okay. They're playing it for laughs. The music is upbeat and happy. Everything is fine. Because like I said earlier, my concern level was up because I was like, this is a desert and it's full of criminals. So I just, Ricky D.
Yeah, I actually wrote earlier in my notes than this point when Ein and Ed were just kind of starting to go off on this adventure. Nothing bad is possibly going to happen to these two characters.
Right.
These characters are too like precious and almost kind of the children of the show that we're definitely not going to. Nobody's going to get kidnapped. Nobody's going to.
Yeah, there
be
were
tortured.
no stakes.
And I don't mean
Yeah,
that as
but
a bad thing, but I felt it was pretty obvious that they were just going to be okay.
Right. And for me, the thing that indicated that wasn't that it was them. It was that the tone and the actual plot wasn't revolving around them. Like there was a whole other thing going on with a bunch of other characters.
It's like they were spectators for most of
Right.
it.
like
They
you
would just sit
yeah,
there
exactly.
and laugh. Like they were
Exactly.
laughing while the other characters were having their actual plot points.
And it was like slow and steady and not messed in the heady wins the race all day on this planet, right? Because everybody is like just totally tripping. And you can just be 13 years old and have an advantage over everyone in the immediate area as long as you're not also tripping. So, and yeah, to Rona's point, Ed is very self-sufficient. Callie is wondering if Ricky D has more pens because he did break a pen live on stream last week. Josh and Kylie, you guys missed that. Ricky D has made the jump to digital. He takes notes digitally now. Like
What?
like some kind of soulless automaton.
Wow, Kylie's the last one to lose her soul then. Because she still takes paper notes.
Oh.
I don't know how she reads them, but she takes them.
Yeah,
Is
no,
that a
I have
dig
really.
on her handwriting?
Did
Absolutely.
you not see that post? Because like, it's bad. I like to tell people it's because I'm so smart. My hands can't keep up with my brain,
Wow.
so it's just scribbles. You
I'm
know?
having several emotional reactions all at the same time. So I remember this scene in this after we get the. Can we call it a crash? Did the train really crash? Like, it kind of just stopped.
It stopped before it hit the cow.
But like the effect of a crash happened where everyone was thrown from the train and
That was just the potential energy shifting.
I understand how trains work, Ricky D from Best Flicks.
It's
with
called
Ricky D.
inertia.
Good God, you people. So, Kylie has doctor's writing is what Callie says in the chat. That's very sweet of you.
That's
And
what I've been telling everybody.
That's actually
Thanks, Callie.
well, and to that point, I believe that's what doctors will say when you ask them why you can't read their prescriptions. They go, "Look, man, I'm saving lives. I need time to write down what you need to live."
Saving lives.
So, which is, that's a fair argument. I get it. Text me if you need to have it deciphered, But I have never seen somebody eat a frozen treat as angrily as this guy is eating his snow cone in this. Like, what is his problem? It is just a snow cone. It did nothing to you. Like,
what is his problem?
It did everything to him.
What could even it have done to? Is your brother allergic to something in the snow cone, and that's how he died? Snow cones killed my brother, and I've been killing his coffin for the
He had
of
an
that snow cone.
extreme brain freeze.
That's better than what I had. Thank you. So I said I love that Ed runs like a blanking. I edited my own note.
Like a
Ed
wacky,
runs
waveable,
like-
inflatable, arm-wielding tube man.
No, I said like a blanking ghost child, and drives like some kind of possessed toy. So it's like, of course, the guy that she's chasing is going to be terrified. She like, he looks back and there's pretty clearly a haunted child like running after him, like you said. And then once she's on the scooter, she's like, like driving with just reckless abandon and no focus whatsoever. And
The
it's
best.
It's the most beautiful, just psychedelic, truly trippy thing. Like the execution of putting us in the character's shoes in this episode is nearly unparalleled in most things I have ever seen. Any show, live action or anime, personally. I think you guys, if you don't have any other notes from this episode, and if you do, we'll cover them right now. But as soon as we are done with that, we should have Kylie give our second synopsis for the evening. Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D.
Sorry.
It's okay. Ricky D was very patient and put his finger up like this, and I saw it in the corner of my screen, so I was like, oh.
That's how we do things here, Josh.
He's not wrong.
This is how we do things now, Ricky.
Team Ricky.
I just had one more small little, I guess, animation that I really enjoyed. It's when Shaft got kicked off of the back of the train, and you're like, oh, he's just going to fall under the train tracks and tumble away. But he landed on, I forgot her name again.
Coffee.
Jeez. I need to write these down.
I remember her name
Pam
this time.
Greer.
But he landed on Coffee's car, and that reminded me so much of the Mad Max Fury Road movie that came out recently, where Max gets like shot off of the back of the train, but he lands on one of the cars that's following behind that's just part of the convoy. So that was a really cool shot.
I believe right after that, the Tom Hardy Max says,
I think he does.
Correct.
Very
correct.
I'm pretty sure that's the line.
That's it.
Love that movie, and actually, this is happening. There will be a bonus episode of Sudden But Inevitable where we watch Mad Max Fury Road. That's a mandate, 100%. Look for that at some time in the probably not near future. Let's call it the semi-near future. Josh,
Sudden
and Kylie,
but best flicks.
One of you two had some notes for this episode, correct?
I had two things. So those three guys that surround Snowcone Annihilator are basically the watchers of Cowboy Bebop, correct? Like they're in every episode somewhere. The guy with the Nebraska hat.
I don't know that
else.
they're in every episode. I think that they may live on Mars because I think we've only seen them when we are on Mars. I'm not 100% on that, but that is a very good question.
Okay. And my last
They are around a lot.
my last note, and you might kill me for this, Jesse, but I don't even care right now. The scenes where everyone's waking up from their trips reminded me so much of my 22nd birthday when the Broncos beat the Steelers. And Jesse, I came
Oh, you
upstairs
found
to
it.
Jesse on my couch laying
That's me
like
on the
this.
left.
This is Jesse right here. I walked upstairs in the morning and he's just passed out like that. I don't know how anyone has ever slept like that.
At least
Because-
they have blankets.
But
I think it's pretty obvious if you look at this photo. Again, that's me on the left. I'm kneeled on my face.
Yes, this is
Sleeping on the
Disney, good old
couch.
Disney. He's
He's been on the
So-
show. Yeah.
So if you look at this photo, I think it's pretty clear what happened, right? Disney got there first. And when I say got there, I mean he nearly died in that spot. Right there. And at some point I went, okay, I have to go to sleep. And there are no available surfaces to sleep on. I'm not sleeping on this floor. That's for
I
damn
can't-
sure.
I can't cuddle with Diz.
I can't sit. Okay, if I sit up on the couch, at some point, one of us is going to fall over and we're going to end up in each other's arms, right?
Right.
oh my
But if I
goodness.
lay my face on the couch in the opposite direction, that's plenty of comfort for the top, like, 42% of my body. And the rest of me is numb enough to not notice that I'm just kneeling on a hardwood floor for what probably really only amounted to like 4 hours of sleep if you think about it.
Yeah. I mean,
Like-
like, I woke you up pretty early because I just couldn't stop laughing. I took this picture and was just
Yeah.
like, dude.
And
But-
it's, and again, I feel like looking at the picture, you can just tell like this was a thing of necessity, and I think it actually worked out pretty well.
Yeah,
I-
I mean, you did great. You did great.
Yeah.
I need to know, is that a puke bucket next to Disney?
No,
Oh,
no,
it
that's
looks
a
like
bottle
a dog.
of water.
I
for
was
the
gonna
dog.
say it looks like a dog water bowl. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Or maybe it's Disney's water bowl.
Could be. You never
Rona,
know.
Rona, when you're in that situation, the logical thinking is the only kind of thinking you can do.
I
If
think I would have
this-
fetal positioned real
If
tiny.
this, then this. If this, then that. If
Well,
that,
and the-
then bad.
The funny
So-
thing is, Jesse doesn't really drink anyway. So that's why this was even more
It's
funny
true.
because Jesse wasn't wasted by any means. He was probably the most sober person at my birthday party that night. And that's
It's
why
true.
I had to take a picture because I was like, wait, I didn't know you got wasted
Yeah,
last
how
night.
did this happen?
And you were like, I didn't. I had like 2 beers.
Well, and to be
Oh.
fair, there would be no way for Josh to know because by the time I even got there, it had been Josh's birthday all day. So it's
Josh
not
doesn't
really his
remember
fault.
anything.
Yeah. Like I could have told him, yeah, I got here at 2 p.m. and he would have been like, seriously? Like it's not your fault at all.
Yeah, I had my own mushroom samba that night. Not really. It was more of a kegger samba, but
Well, I don't remember the layout of that house except for that room.
Is that Broadway?
no, that
No?
was oof.
Oh, way before that. Okay, all right,
That
fair
was-
enough.
Oh, it looks
Yeah, a long
like
time before that.
our friend Callie D in the chat possesses the same superpower that I do, where she is able to fall asleep
Anywhere.
Yeah. That's
So real.
impressive. Yeah. I fell asleep on the couch the other, I think 2 days ago. Well, Teletubbies was on TV. Not because
It's Jesse's favorite show.
no, yeah, like I wouldn't fall asleep because it was boring. I was tired and my daughter was napping on my chest and I fell asleep. But let me tell you, waking up to Teletubbies, a little bit of a horrifying experience. So I'm glad that when I woke up from Josh's floor that day, Teletubbies was not on the television.
I was just
All
thinking of
right.
that Teletubbies cat thing, where the guys putting Teletubby masks over the cats' faces.
Oh, yes. No, that is a good video. TikTok for the win.
Yeah, yeah.
Anywho.
Let's go on to episode 18, huh?
I've got one more thing about the Mushroom Samba episode.
Yes.
So we think we're getting these drug mushrooms that are worth $100,000 a piece or whatever it was, but they turn out to be just shiitake mushrooms.
Yes.
So do we think that Domino was growing hallucinogenic mushrooms and shiitake mushrooms in the same place in his ship, and we
Yeah.
just got a normal bag?
Oh, I think that, yeah, when he was picking, remember?
He
He
picked
was
the
like,
bad ones?
he's like, oh, this is not a good one. I think that those were just like regular shiitake edible mushrooms, and he
Mhm.
just threw them all in a bucket.
One man's trash,
Yep. Okay. I just wanted
So-
to. That was the conclusion of the move or the episode. I wanted to touch on it.
No, certainly a valid thing to do. Do you wonderful people have any other notes from the first episode before we move to our second synopsis?
No, sir.
Well, then, if you don't mind, at Miss My Armcast, Kylie, please take it away.
All right. Session 18, Speak Like a Child. When a mysterious package arrives, Faye disappears on a gambling binge, and Spike and Jet embark on a frustrating search for ancient technology, which is super fun. My fun fact, my fun fact is just Speak Like a Child, as per usual. The name of the episode is Herbie Hancock, jazz musician, 1960s, early 1970s era.
Yep.
Herbie Hancock.
Herbie
Let me-
Hancock. So
I'd like to say hello to our new friend, Podcast Father, in the live chat. Thank you for joining us, Podcast Father. Happy to have you here for Sudden But Inevitable. Kylie, please go ahead.
I that was actually kind of it for the fun facts, but I guess I do want to bring up that it was nostalgic and fun to go back to the days of VHS and beta
Betamax.
cassettes and Betamax. And,
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun. I think that they had mentioned in there that they had, when they had found that the beta cassette tape thing, whatever, they said that it had everything from 2022 and forward or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun because that's, in the realm of where we are now. So,
Right.
Mhm.
We are lagging behind. We got to start building the space gate like tomorrow because it's supposed to blow up like next year. So
Yeah. What's
Right.
going on
right,
here?
right.
Elon Musk, Donald Trump. Let's go. Let's get it happening.
we need.
where's that- the
real
Amazon
space
guy?
gates.
Bezos.
Bezos. Is it pronounced Bezos? I always thought it was
That's how I
Bezos.
pronounce it.
Bezos or
In the-
Bezos.
I mean, from here on out, it's Bezos.
I don't know. Is it Bacchus or Bacchus?
In the Josh
Bezos.
dictionary.
Well, and to your point, Kylie, I feel like that's kind of the most relatable part of this episode, right? We're talking about the heavy immersion in the last episode due to the mood and the music and everything. But I feel like the relatable, immersive part of this episode is that they picked Betamax, which is already, I mean, yes, I'm sure the joke is that Betamax is already ancient, right?
Right.
It's already ancient in 1998. But to put a dead technology that's only that recently dead for us now just gives this sense of real tangibility to this universe, right? Because it's like, dude, I've had trouble finding a VCR to play my VHS tapes in the current day. So I could totally
We've
see
got
where they would
one.
have, I could totally see where they'd have issues trying to find a beta deck in 70 years, right?
Oh God,
And
yeah.
It just but the guy, to that point, the guy that they go meet who knows all about Betamax and VHS, I feel like he's properly impressed with the technology because when he's talking about it, it's stuff that you kind of don't think about as a kid. Because like when I was a kid, that's when I was watching VHS tapes, right? So
Totally.
it's like I didn't.
Well,
really
and that was
think
probably like
about-
1999 too that I was watching
Exactly.
VHS tapes.
So you're not thinking, oh, this is electromagnetic signals committed to tape that then gets read by this machine. You're just thinking, yes, it's the movie cartridge and you put it in and it goes. So I feel like that guy was properly impressed, and it kind of gave me a little bit more respect for VHS and Betamax. And I'll be honest, I hadn't remembered most of this episode, so I definitely thought we were getting like a The Ring type videotape in the mail.
That's
in my
absolutely,
notes.
yeah. It's funny. When my mom, she just recently got married, bless her heart. And she sold our childhood house or whatever, and that was definitely sad. But she ended up giving me all the videotapes that she had found. And I remember looking at a bunch. You got your Little Mermaid and all your, in the actual, what are those? They're like the plastic.
The jewel cases.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like
So you
the-
got some fun
yeah.
stuff there, but it came with a lot of blank tapes.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting here like, I have so many to watch through, and it just could be anything.
Careful.
I will not be
Very
joining you
careful.
on those. Last time I went through my mother's blank tapes, I
Oh, okay.
wanted to gouge my eyes
We
out.
don't wanna- Yeah. Anywho, but no,
Is
it
the
is.
story
It's,
over?
It's over. You're good.
It's fun to come across those things for sure. It's even CDs, anything like that is it's
Oh man, I still have. So my car has a CD player, and I have a big old booklet of CDs underneath my seat. Just like in 2004, I still have all those CDs.
Yep.
It's wonderful. I
My
have a great time with it.
the only CDs I
Lovely.
have are ISP CDs. I know.
my lovely wife, Mrs. Sutton, also has a big book of CDs from 2004, Josh, and she uses it. She's got mixes for situations, right? So she had mixes from back in the day. So
too.
yeah, so
Party
before people-
mix.
yeah, exactly. Before people were making the workout playlist or whatever, she had like the mall
workout.
playlist.
Yep.
So yeah, a lot of '90s music in my life.
I had a lot of yearly things, so it was like year mix 2K5.
Yeah,
like,
2005. You
yearly
got your
mix
silver
2K7.
scene and-
written in Sharpie.
Dude, it was totally on Sharpie, blank disc, nothing there.
Well,
just
and you're
like-
trying to fit all 20 songs on the space of a CD.
Oh, I never did that.
The
That
little
was-
mirror CD or whatever.
Did you
I just had to
guys
remember.
did you guys ever rig up your personal CD players so you could pop it open while the CD was spinning?
Yes,
And you could do
I
like
still have
spin
some of
art
those.
across it.
I still have some of those with like all the different Sharpies, and it's like a big tie-dye thing on the CD.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, dude, all you had to do was put that little piece of paper
Yep.
in that little clip, keep it open.
I
That
just
was
remember
awesome.
trying to jog or work out on my treadmill with
Skip,
my little
skip.
Walkman, and I'd be like, "Oh, running a little bit too hard, I
Yep,
guess."
skip.
I love that they had. I remember the first CD player I had. It was like the front of it was like superior skip protection, and then
ESP.
you'd like be walking and turn left, and it would skip, and you're like, "How
Well,
did this used to be?"
so I
Because this is
remember-
awful.
The superior skip protection button was a button that you'd press down so it would like hold, like it would press down on your CD, so it wouldn't
Yeah.
skip.
It was a physical.
That's what that button
switch.
did. Was it was
Yeah.
pushing down on the actual disc so that it didn't skip, and I
Yeah.
just think that's so funny.
And there,
a
God,
mid-player lever.
even from mixed CDs, I'm sure there are people in the chat that will remember recording songs off the radio onto a cassette tape.
Oh, totally. Linkin
I-
Park all
I
day.
found a couple of those at my dad's house recently in my old bedroom. Man,
Ooh,
if I could find a
POD.
cassette player, I would love to see what
Oh man.
12-year-old me was getting into.
You know,
I'm
and I
glad-
have a lot of old cassettes too. We should get a cassette player. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we have the soundtrack to Cowboy Bebop because, no offense, Josh, but you and I had very different tastes in music growing up.
Oh yeah.
But I do love that these characters have no idea even what a videotape is, right?
He's just pulling the tape out of the
Yeah.
Spike is just like, what is this? And I-
Then Spike puts his foot through the Betamax machine.
but like watching him pull the tape out was like making me go mad.
having
Like
a little bit of a
inside I
moment.
was
It's ruining
screaming because
everything, yeah.
like man, that would just when a VCR would eat my tape or something and I pull it out and it's just holding onto the tape. Dude, I got such anxiety when he
Gosh,
started
well,
ripping that tape out.
And I remember even before they came out with the rewindy things, you had to like physically rewind the tape back
Yeah.
or whatever. Oh my gosh. And then my best friend growing up, her parents, like for Christmas, had got her one of those automatic rewindy.
Was it a race
things,
car
and you-
rewinder?
You like put it in there, yeah, and it was like
It was like a
and it was
separate
like
machine.
it
Yeah.
was like
It was
the
a separate machine
coolest,
rewind.
most awesome. Like you could rewind a movie in 5 minutes
And you're-
instead of 10.
And your video would pop up like toast at the end. It would go ka-choo, and it would be like at an angle, so you could just pull it out and put it right back in, I guess, and watch it. I bet people watched movies back to back less frequently when they were on tape. Quick question, you guys, because I'm just in a digressive mood. Do you remember the back of the VHS tapes had all those little cutout hole shapes on it,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Along the bottom edge. There was one that looked like a church building or like a building with like a clock tower on it to me, and I always remember as a kid thinking that was like an approximation of a movie studio somewhere that they were like had built that into the thing. But I think in retrospect, it probably had something to do with the pins and moving parts in the machine that reads the tape.
You said
When
retro.
Remember your special editions would come in brightly colored plastic?
Oh. And all of the Nickelodeon movies were
Yeah,
bright
orange.
orange,
Yeah.
all, Rugrats, Reptar, all that.
Harriet
my
the
goodness.
Spy.
Ooh,
You
that
guys-
was Josh's first crush.
Have
Harriet the
we?
Spy, Michelle
I
Trachtenberg.
just
Michelle
found Michelle
Trachtenberg.
Trachtenberg on Instagram again and started following her.
Well, she's cutie. I mean,
They
she was a
gotta-
child then.
They got to
but
come up with a
she's
better
cutie.
term. Than
I was a child.
following.
We're like the same age.
Have you guys? Do you guys
Oh,
feel
the
like-
nostalgia.
Do you think we missed an opportunity to have been talking about the 90s this whole time because the show came out in the 90s? Should we have been talking more about the 90s?
Seriously. Well, and my first crush, just because it's also on VHS tape, I'm just gonna throw it out there. Spanky from Little Rascals was my first
Okay.
crush, and of
Okay.
course it was on VHS. Like, duh.
That's
I
awesome.
can see that.
Kylie
So
actually
fun.
wore out her Little Rascals VHS, rewinding it so many times.
Oh gosh, I really like the leader type, like Spanky. So,
So Kylie probably agrees with our character here, who's an expert on ancient video technology, who says 20th century TV is the best
Is the
thing that there
best?
is. Nothing that came out after that is good. Which basically cuts off right after Cowboy Bebop, right? Anything that came out after the show you're currently watching is crap, is what they're saying.
I like to refer to that guy as strung out Ash Ketchum because look at that dude.
the first thing he said was "What is that old Ash Ketchum?" And I was like, "Huh, okay."
He
he's
would
not
be
wrong.
right at home in that therapy group from Venture Brothers with the Johnny Quest. character. Like,
Oh, poor
Johnny
the-
Quest. He's so...
What is his name? Haji. Is that who we're
What was-
talking about?
No. Johnny. The character was actually Johnny Quest, but I don't remember what they named him in Venture Brothers. But his
Oh, okay,
sidekick was Haji.
It was
Okay,
just Johnny.
okay.
They just called him Johnny.
I think they did
I
just call
see.
him Johnny. Yeah.
Okay.
And Action Johnny. Thank
Hell,
you, Phil.
Action
Phil-
Johnny.
Oh
Phil
my
always
God,
knows.
yes.
Thank you,
Phil
Phil.
is like a well of knowledge.
They find
Phil
him
is-
stuck in a submarine for like 10 years. Just
Yeah. Phil is the epitome of like pop culture instantaneous retrieval, and
I'm so glad you knew
appreciate it.
that.
Appreciate it deeply.
Yes.
I do really love how once she figures out what they're trying to do, Ed just takes over again. This is 2 episodes in a row where Ed goes, I can do this. So she grabs her trusty shipping history lookup and goes and finds out where this tape has been and, where it came from, this, that, and the other thing. And then she sings this very fun song, Beta, where are you? And it's just classic Ed. And this scene, I really like this setting, actually, this whole setting, the abandoned city, and they're going back and looking through all this junk and stuff. It was just like very, very classic sci-fi. You can fit that in any sci-fi story that you want. But they start walking around in this building that's partially submerged, probably due to global warming. And they're just walking around for like 15 minutes. And my immediate thought was, okay, you need to be looking out for animals or like, bacteria or like bad things. Like, I don't like to be thigh deep in water anywhere. Like, there's nowhere that's the right amount of water to be in. You should either be in way less water than that, or you should be fully submerged because you're swimming by choice. That is an uncomfortable place for the water to stop. What do you guys think?
Stagnant water is no good. I can
Yeah.
agree with that, like phobia of stagnant water.
Yeah. It kind of squicked me. I was like, like,
Wait, Josh is about to say something about Star Wars. No?
No.
Oh, I thought you
I
were
was
going
going to talk
for-
about how being in a tiny space with water is very claustrophobic and also gives me anxiety.
I thought you were going for the trash compactor scene in Star Wars. I saw
So
it
that's-
happening in your mind.
that's actually the one instance of that where I didn't feel claustrophobic, and I think it was because it's like they're not going to kill these 3 characters 15 minutes into this movie. Like, it's okay. And, but in this animated show, I definitely got that feeling. I was like, I don't like this, and I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't. There was a lot of claustrophobic scenes in this episode. I feel like.
Yeah. I couldn't. It's not that it prevented me from enjoying it, right? It was. I guess it's just another layer of that deep immersion that we were talking about from the last episode, where it's like everything here is very effectively done, and I don't know. And we do get another instance of the Bebop being both a spacefaring vehicle and a amphibious water vehicle, which very cool and kind of relevant. Did you guys watch any of those videos that the Pentagon was like, here are the videos that we can't explain, right? It's
Mhm.
UFOs because they're unidentified.
Yep.
So one of those videos, the one that is making like a huge buzz in particular, is a craft that seems to be flying around really quickly and then goes underwater and completely disappears from all instruments. And the reason that that's a big deal is because we have nothing that can do that we know of. But I thought how cool that, in 70-ish years, the fishing boats will be also spaceships. Like, what a fun thing.
Yeah, I kind of liked seeing that fishing scene in this episode.
Good
'Cause
reminder
was-
that we're on a fishing ship. And we've had a few
Yeah.
of those. Because they did it
Yeah.
on, I think that was
I guess that's
Ganymede
true. That's true.
when they were doing that. And Ed was fishing and she caught that weird alien fish and Faye was sunbathing, of course.
Right.
Yeah, those leeches, though, I just was like, so to that point, I was immediately more worried about the leeches than I ever was about the lobster in the Toys in the Attic episode. But I think it was because I was already uncomfortable with the stagnant water, like Ricky was saying. Like, I don't like that. And then they were just like casually pulling them off and throwing them. I was like, I can't dig it. It was squeaky. Maybe I'm a huge wuss.
Squeaky.
I'll take that back. I'm a huge wuss.
I
And
don't-
I think we all know that.
I don't like sea creatures in general, though. I feel like they're all just sea insects. It's
Okay, that's kind of a blanket statement, Josh. Ease up.
whoa, man. My bad. Sorry.
Well, just I don't want to offend anybody that's in the live chat that might have a great affinity for sea creatures.
Or that is a sea creature.
Right? Yeah.
Well-
If you're listening and you're a mermaid, I apologize. The thoughts and opinions expressed on this show are held solely by those speaking them. Kylie's like, what did I just miss?
I don't like. It's not that I don't like all sea creatures. There's a lot of good sea creatures out there, but like the gross ones, the shrimps and
Anything with
the
no bones.
lobsters
Yeah.
and the weird things. Those I don't know, man.
For me, it's the invertebrates. It's the octopuses and the squids. I can't dig
Yeah.
it.
And the
But-
starfish are
They're all
kinda weird.
delicious.
Well, there is that. I
Ugh.
Phil in the chat, merman pop, merman. I love you, Phil. Thank you for being here with us. That disclaimer, though, says Callie D. I really love that disclaimer. It's one of my favorite parts of the show, actually. Which is
It's on the end of all of our episodes of any
well,
show.
it's
on
actually at the
network.
start of Best Flicks, and I really like it because it gets me.
Is
in
it at the
mood
start? Okay.
to listen
All
to
right.
Best
Cool.
Flicks, yeah.
Cool.
You know how I love to hear my voice on other people's shows, Josh. That's consistently true. with
Your
me.
voice in general. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if you can have it recorded, that's always a benefit because then I get to hear it again.
Right.
Jesse's all over the network. He's like a dog. He's peed on every one of our shows.
It's true. I'm also loved by everyone in the family.
like a dog.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Like a dog.
Like a
So-
dog.
So my notes thin out here because I was so creeped out, and I got really immersed. This story of Faye, right? We keep getting these little pieces of Faye. Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Josh. Yeah,
Huh?
yeah.
Are we?
Maybe-
Are we? Yeah. About.
Maybe softening on Faye. Is Faye, maybe
Faye-
Faye's
well-
okay?
So in my notes, here's how my notes go. I'm gonna read them word for word
Oh, goodness.
because sometimes my notes are kind of weird. Creepy video. Period. Kind of like The Ring, but damn it, ended up being a pretty sad video. Poor Faye. What a heavy ending. Misty for sure. Not full on tears, but man, what it would feel like to know you had a pretty okay life. I want more.
Seriously, though. I mean, I think just knowing that it looks like she had a normal something going on high school life.
Dude,
Yeah.
I mean, I think even today, like even just being in my 30s, and if I were to find some long lost cell phone that I've held on to for so long that had a video that was like, hey, dude, this is 15-year-old you giving you a message for 15 years from now. You know, it'd be I it'd be a very interesting thing to see. You know, I don't depending on what kind of advice it was. You know, it'd either be, man, shut up, you're an idiot, or like Faye, I feel like was kind of really taking it hard. You know, because
Yeah.
She was
her
clearly a happy
messages,
young lady.
yeah, her messages to herself were full of
Go
positivity
me.
and like being the best you can be. And Faye right now is like, oh my god, I gotta stop betting on horses. The hell is wrong with me? Like,
And she called herself out, said time for Faye's famous disappearing act,
yeah,
which is what Gren
for
told
sure.
her she would do as soon as she felt close to people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was, you know, I didn't expect myself to feel the emotions that I felt at that moment. I was like, oh, this is gonna be funny. Spike and Jet are gonna be like, holy shit, that's you. And then it ended up being like, oh my god, that's wow, you were so different. You were so full of life. And you know, like, you know, after being frozen in carbonite for 70 years, though, I feel like
Nerd.
there's your Star Wars reference, Ricky. I feel like that would do that to you, though, especially you seeing a memory of yourself from better times that you don't remember, you know? Ugh, gut wrenching. Ricky, what did you have?
I think that Faye, adult Faye, she kind of acts like a trauma victim. The way she's always trying, anytime she gets close to somebody, she's escaping them, and she wears this like hardened outer shell, and she doesn't really let anybody in. And I was watching this as the child Faye was kind of cheering herself on, and I was sitting there going, these two characters don't quite fit together. But as we're talking about it through the course of this podcast, I'm going, well, all of Faye's traumas happened after she was frozen. That's what made this hardened, scared, but also dominant personality. And it's such a change from her just blindingly optimistic childhood self, where it's just like, you got to do your best. You got to get out there and do your best every day. It's a brand new day, and you are a brand new you. So let's get out there and do this. And it really made Faye's character much more tragic.
I agree, 100%. And if you go back to My Funny Valentine, it totally makes sense that that's the headspace she woke up in, right? Because she immediately just trusts people that are around her, or is put in a situation where she doesn't have time to think about who to trust. So yeah, and I'm glad to hear you guys say that, because I know that you had. It's not that you were like hating Faye, right? But I know that there was a part of you that was kind of not super hot on Faye, shall we say? And then I'm sure there was a part of you that was super hot on Faye.
Whoa.
But I I'm I think that that's a really good point, and it does show that she. I think we had mentioned it actually when we talked about that she did have a pretty, at least, not bad life before, and she didn't have to struggle moment to moment and day to day. Maybe there was a little bit of money involved, and maybe when that tragedy occurred, her parents went, "We're not going to make it. Just save our kid," you know. So,
Ugh.
I just I'm really glad that you guys got a little bit more of an emotional connection with Faye, because it's easy with a character that looks like that to ignore the attempt to build an emotional connection, right? Callie D in the chat says, to be fair, Faye is a trauma victim, which is the same point that you made, Ricky. Waking up in the hands of strangers like the weight of a huge bill, no life, no memories, and then instantly having her trust broken like that, everyone would be a bit wonky. That is an excellent breakdown, Callie D. And speaking of a little bit wonky, That's where my notes end. So I would like to toss it over to Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D to ask, do you have any other notes from this episode that you feel like we have to cover, my friend?
I do not.
What about Josh and Kylie up there in the right top corner of your screen?
I, the music in this. Again, I every episode I talk about the music, obviously, but this one was so much different because it mixed the old Western slide guitar, that poing, poing, like that, and I love that twangy sound that the slide makes. But they mixed that with what sounded like kind of an Irish-esque mixed with tribal beat.
Like
You-
music for the Fae folk?
Correct.
Oh.
Correct. But it's just the way they mix it together to keep it a space western and keep it very
Yeah.
cowboy-esque was
Yeah.
brilliant. I've never really heard anything like that. And I'm a huge fan of Western Irish Fae music, and I want more of that. So, like anyone out there that has any recommendations for Western Irish fairy music, please hit me up.
It's
I'll just ask my best
probably
friend.
a wider, deeper genre than we are assuming. Our wonderful friend Sinacera has just joined the live chat, lit a cigar with meat juice covered embers, says made it. Our friend Sinacera has been barbecuing with a flamethrower for the rest of his family, and he set aside a little bit of time to come and say hello. Thank you so much for joining us,
Yay.
Sinacera. We're happy to have you here. We never found out, this is Callie D in the chat says, we never found out who sent Faye the message, did we? Because that seems very intentional. I don't believe we were given a definitive answer to that yet. And I think that if you go back and listen to some of the places that Jet mentions the tape having been, there are probably some context clues hidden in there. And I'm not saying this to be cheeky. I'm saying this because I don't remember most of the rest of this series. And I'm very excited to get into it because if the two episodes that we just got through are any indicator as to the quality and immersion and fun that we're about to have, you guys, I'm super stoked. So,
Yeah. It seems like they're starting to build up for something great and epic for sure.
well, and
You know me and my cereal love.
right. The thing that I found, I think possibly, and this will be my last note, and then we can move to our segments. But I think what I found most impressive about the second episode here is that Spike and Jet are essentially reduced to side characters in this episode, and it's still excellent. Like they're kind of bumbling their way through most of what they do in this episode. Now they're bumbling with style, right? Which is the other name that we considered for this podcast. But Sudden But Inevitable just sounds better. So, but for the episode to remain strong on the rest of its characters, despite that, and in concert with that, I think it's just proof that this is one of the best TV shows ever created. So, if you guys don't have any objections, other than the one that my friend Kylie is about to lodge, then
Kylie didn't get to.
we'll move
throw-
on as soon as she has covered the rest of her notes. I'm apologetic, Kylie. There's people in the chat. There's people on the screen. You know that I hope you know that I never intentionally leave anybody out of any round of questioning. And if I ever do, please feel free to shame me in public. Go ahead.
But of course, and you know that Kylie will always make sure that you know that you forgot. I just thought it was I wanted to bring up that yet again Spike got in trouble for smoking, and I just kind of love that, you know,
Oh.
every time.
Well, and what a jerk too. He just puts it out on the VCR. Like again, all the anxiety that Spike
Oh, yeah.
gives me from his treatment towards 1980s and
Electronics
90s
and-
electronics is very not fun for me.
I could see why that would be a trigger for you for sure.
Yeah.
But no, that was the last thing. Is just, of course, you got your getting in trouble for cigarettes again.
That's great. And to your point, Kylie, I love you. And the last time that we did that, where I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to skip over you." You're like, "No, it's totally okay." I was like, "Okay, go ahead." You went, "I don't have any other notes."
Did
I
that
was,
happen?
I was, yeah, I was listening
did.
to our old
I remember
episodes at work this week, and I was like, why did she do that to me? Like,
See, that
it was
sounds
because
like
it was
something I'd do.
because she wanted me to not forget the next time, and clearly it did not work. So I apologize.
Right. That's again though, sounds like something I would do. So
Totally.
that makes me laugh.
we had trust me, I laughed when it happened, and I had heard it 3 times before already. So this is really cool. We've never had this before in the live chat. We have an actual inception of a t-shirt idea request from Callie D. She says, "Bumbling with style, can we have that on a t-shirt, please? Maybe just that and their silhouette." I will work on that, Kelly D. That is not a bad idea. It'll be the same shirt, but it will say "Bumbling with style" instead of "Sudden but inevitable." That's not a bad call.
I like
I
it.
like that.
So, Kylie, Josh, Ricky D, last chance. Any notes? No? Cool. So our first segment this week is going to be Shot of the Show. Shot of the Show, as you know, is where we share our favorite frames from this week's episodes, the images that hit us just a little bit harder than the rest this week. Let's go ahead and start with at Miss My Armcast, Kylie. Do you have shots of the show this week?
I have one.
Wonderful. Please go ahead and share.
Gosh, I don't know. I thought that this was one of the funnest parts of the whole tripping experience with the mushrooms that we got in episode 17. I can't say that this was my favorite of the episode, I want to say episodes, but I mean like tripping episodes, not the episodes
Oh.
episodes.
Gotcha.
Between, what happened with Spike and Jet and everybody, I don't want to say that phase was my favorite, but when this happened, I was just like, I don't know. I thought it was so fun. That was just too funny.
It's at minute 14 and 20 seconds.
And-
She's surrounded by fish.
Well, and you could say she's submerged in
in the trip.
Yeah, right. Yeah, in the effects of the mushrooms.
You could say
was a
that
fun one.
she's lost in the ocean of space just looking for her school.
Man. And see, I'm the exact opposite. Again, more anxiety because I feel like
Look at
if
all
I
those
hit
fish, those are
that,
huge.
no, and
Those are
she's
huge.
underwater. How is she breathing? Oh my god, I'd be
How is she
freaking out
not
right now.
panicking?
I'd be freaking out. Just like, I can't breathe underwater. Why am I here? What's happening?
I just thought that was a fun one, though.
No, it is a
I
very
love it.
good shot
Yeah.
for sure.
Josh, let's have you go next.
So my shot comes from the 19-minute mark. I actually fought Ricky over this shot. Because it's just the best.
Look at Ein.
I want this on a poster in this might be
She's-
my new background for the
She's
rest
not
of Sudden but
wearing any
Inevitable.
shoes. She just, I mean, I wish I could channel Ed in my
Okay.
daily life.
This is going to sound like a dig. I think Josh could actually pull off an Ed cosplay. Like,
I
Yes.
definitely could.
because you have the right frame,
Mhm.
and I feel like you could really match that energy given the right outfit.
Could you see him in those purple spandex shorts? I mean, hello.
Pretty easily.
And I would just have to carry a stuffed corgi in my backpack, right?
Or hey,
Well,
you know what?
Corgo.
Modify it and put one of your cats in there.
Man,
Oh,
that's true.
That is true. I do have a friend. My brother's best friend has 2 corgis.
Ah,
Um,
I wouldn't want to take a live corgi. No.
You're-
I'll
true.
take a live
true.
corgi. Can I have him?
Josh does not have a lot of confidence in his scootsmanship, I think is
No,
what he's trying to
no.
tell us. So,
Scootsmanship.
This shot though made me laugh the most. It was a very brief shot. It lasts maybe 1.5 seconds. And if you blink, you miss it.
mhm.
But it is wonderful. It's just Ed like living her best life with Ian on this scooter, chasing after the train, trying to get Domino. And it's wonderful. I laughed so much.
Pure, unadulterated chaos and joy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. For
Yeah.
sure.
And for the second episode, Josh, did you have a pick there?
I do have one. I'm just bringing it up really quick here. So this one comes from minute 11:34, and it's right when they're coming out of the space gate.
Yeah.
I thought this was a really cool shot.
It's so beautiful. It
Yeah.
it reminds me of one of my very favorite animes, and it's an obscure one, but it's called Dot Hack. There's different derivatives of it, but Dot Hack has like those really cool portals and things like that, and it's just so picturesque.
Yeah, and this just I don't know, it took me a couple different tries to get the right spot. Like I wanted to
Oh.
see the
Mhm.
rings coming out with the giant ring there.
But you got your purple vortex of
Right,
beauty.
the vortex is still very predominant with the ship coming out of it, and it's all bright with like a halo behind it. I don't know, this particular 1 second shot is my favorite of the ship coming out of the gate, the portal.
I
So
dig that big time. Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. Would you like to share your shots of the show with us?
Of course.
So let's see. This is from on Hulu. It was minute marker 7 minutes.
23.
On Hulu it's 7:13.
Oh,
I don't know.
My
On mine it
mistake.
was at least. I don't know.
But as far as the picture goes, this is where Ed and Ein come across the watermelon salesman. And he's just sitting there going, 1,000 wulong. 1,000 wulong. You don't have? You don't get watermelon. And Ed starts like checking her pockets. You can see she's got one hand in her back pocket. She's like just checking all over the place, trying to find money. She even checks inside of Ein's mouth. And I was just like, oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
It's
I love
like
that.
it's like an Alliance soldier checking under a plate for a stowaway on Firefly.
Yes.
Maybe they're under here.
That's so funny. Maybe there's wulong. Maybe Ian ate some wulongs.
Hey guys,
Oh, go ahead.
my favorite anime that I just mentioned, Dot Hack Sign, is totally one season.
Oh,
Just-
really? Did you just look that up?
Yep, I just wanted to throw that out there.
That's information that could potentially be pertinent to some of the people in this room. Really
Oh
quickly,
my-
Ricky D, before you get to your second shot, our friend Rona in the live chat says, I have a red scooter, but no corgi. And Callie says, that makes you 150% cooler than all of us, and the corgi part can be changed. So keep that in mind. Now, if you wouldn't mind, Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D, share your second shot selection with us, my friend.
All right. This one was right around 13 minutes and 37 seconds. But this was the point where Jet and Spike are going into this weird department store mall thing that's just broken down, and it's where they're investing all of this like potential damage to themselves, and they're looking for this tape. It's just, I thought it was a fun, interesting part of the episode. It's kind of weird that they were going this far to find a Betamax player for Faye, but it's also where all of the danger really entered the episode.
And that's why I feel like Spike was down. Like, he was like, all right, if it's if it might kill me, I'll do it, right?
Right.
Like,
That makes sense.
they didn't want to chase the hacker until the hacker had control of a laser that could shoot them out of the sky in an instant. And he was like, oh, sweet, let's go fight that guy. I feel like it definitely fits. And this shot in particular, first of all, excellent choice. It totally reminded me of the shot in The Matrix when Neo is holding Trinity. He puts his arm around Trinity. He looks up at the
Yes!
elevator cable, points the gun, and says, there is no spoon.
That is
Like,
exactly.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And
There
that
is-
movie came out in 1999. And we know was heavily influenced and inspired by anime. From I believe the Wachowskis, I believe they have blatantly said most of our influences were anime. I think in particular Ghost in the Shell was high up there. So very, very, very good choice. Does that mean that it's my turn now? Because I love
It sure does.
my turn. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. Okay, so my first selection for shot of the show this week is 5 minutes and 16 seconds in Mushroom Samba. Now, this shot is not the Bebop on the ocean. Anybody get the TNG reference? No? Okay. This shot is actually the Bebop in the desert. And the animated, what are those called? Mirage waves are reflecting the sky in a way that makes it look like the Bebop is actually simultaneously out on the water and in the middle of a desert, which is just, first of all, beautiful. Second of all, fits so well. Philip says, Darmok, I love you. I'm going to replace this crew with you someday, Philip. I love you.
Did you not hear me sigh? I knew exactly what you were talking about. I just wanted you to continue.
I did hear you sigh, and that's part of why I said that to Phil. So the shot it continues that double meaning that we talked about with the Bebop, right? It's a spaceship, and it's a ship that can go on the water, and it's landed terrestrially here, which I guess you could argue is a third terrain it can handle, but it's that mix of terrains, right? You've got water, you've got land, you've also got sky here. So in this one shot, you can see all three places where the Bebop is capable of traveling, and it's just, and it appears also as that at the top of the Mirage, right? So if you were a traveler wandering through this desert, this could be a sight for sore eyes. Love this shot. Moving on to my second selection from 12 something, right? 12 minutes and 47 seconds in the second episode. This is Spike and Jet parked in front of the destroyed building. So you'll see right in the center there, down at the bottom, their ships are super tiny, which means they are even smaller, and this building is enormous.
Huge.
They're going into this whole abandoned like city block that is just crumbling, and nature is taking back over it. Got the scary, creepy, stagnant water in there, but I love this shot because it's a great sense of scale, and it's a great sense of how much, for lack of a better term, space there is in our space cowboy show, right? There's a ton of real estate, but not necessarily all of that real estate is densely populated. Yes, humans are everywhere in the galaxy, but they're not like Earth level populated everywhere in the galaxy, right? Everybody's sparse. Life is still hard. This shot is so cool. And I think actually the rest of this shot is one of those that just pans up slowly to show you the height of the building. Very cool establishing wide shot. So now that we've covered our favorite shots from this week, the next thing that we do is we share our picks for a little segment that we like to call Spiegel Spiel.
Oof, that one's a little louder than the other one. Sorry.
It was kind of loud. I don't know if it was loud for you because it was loud for me.
Was it loud for you? Spiegel Spiel, of course, is where we share our favorite lines of dialogue from this week's episodes of Cowboy Bebop, even if they were not uttered by Mr. Spike Spiegel himself. So let's go ahead and go in reverse order from the last segment, meaning Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. Give us your picks, my friend.
Yeah. My first pick, it was pretty much the very end of the Mushroom Samba episode. And we had just, no, I don't think we were watching Big Shots. We at the end of Mushroom Samba, and Ed and Ein were eating together, and Ed looks at Ein and goes, Ein, you're a cow, woof woof, like to imply that he was a cowboy.
Yeah.
He had helped solve that caper.
But he's a woof woof.
Right.
So cute. That was definitely a good one.
Yeah.
And for the Speak Like a Child episode, I loved it when Faye is ducking out on Spike again. And she goes, a second package for that wench? Not a chance. You take it back. He's trying to get the postal service to take his package.
Yeah, don't send things COD. That's very rude. That's like calling
So
somebody
rude.
collect.
I was going to say, calling somebody collect.
Apparently. Jeez.
If you were alive in the 90s, you know that these things are all real things.
I think we were all alive in the 90s. Even I was alive in the 90s, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was speaking to the listeners, Kylie. I have no idea when they were born.
I have a quote that I'm predicting is Jesse's favorite quote.
From
Oh.
Can I throw that
this-
out?
From this episode or from the second episode?
Second episode.
Hold on. Let me go find my quote. It's at the very bottom of. Okay, go ahead.
All right. I'm guessing Jesse's picking Faye's quote, which is, "There's just too many people that want a piece of me."
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's a good guess, Ricky D. It's the best guess that there is.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Love it. Love it.
Wow.
So I guess that means we'll just move directly to Kylie. Kylie, what were your picks for Spiegel Spiel this week?
You know, I only had one, and it's in session 17. We actually did mention it, but it just really kind of stood out to me, because it was a funny scene. It was Led Zeppelin related. There was a hallucinated frog. For all these reasons, I really liked when the frog is like, "This is a stairway to heaven. Don't you know that?" Like,
Damn it.
I
You
think
took
that
mine.
really okay, because that one was really good. It was fun.
What? Yeah, he says, "Hey, mister, this here is the stairway to heaven. You know that, don't you?"
Yeah,
I named him Frog King.
Frog King.
I can dig that. My Callie D in the chat says, "Now I have piece of me in my head. Thanks, Ricky D." And then she clarified the Britney Spears song, of course.
Nice.
So,
See, I'm
piece of
That's
thinking-
Ricky
me
D's
is one.
favorite song.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
the Ashley Simpson version.
That's funny.
Did you have a pick that Kylie didn't steal, Josh?
I did. And it's another nostalgic thing that Spike says when he's opening the box for the Betamax player. He says, "There sure is a lot of packaging." Oh my God, words have never been truer when it comes to 90s packaging. Do you guys remember getting Power Rangers Megazords and how much freaking
Yep.
styrofoam was in that crap? Like, you had to unwind every single little armband and like
Yeah,
try and
little twisty. Yeah.
every little weapon was behind a piece of plastic that you had to pull off that was inserted into another piece of plastic.
Well,
And
and it
yeah,
was like
man.
so well formed that if you had the means, you could almost make another figure by like pouring
Yes.
a mold of it.
Yeah,
Like,
just pour some hot wax in that thing and you got another
Yeah.
Tommy from,
It's
the Green
very
Ranger.
excessive.
Another Tommy.
It's great.
Fry, I know those cookies are fresh-alicious, but they create an awful lot of trash.
So yeah, I mean, I really, I don't know. It just reminded me a lot of my childhood and all the cardboard and plastic and
Hmm.
wraps that we always had to undo when we wanted to open our new toys.
Yep.
I just remember the excessive amounts of tape on things like that.
Two-sided tape. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So my only other pick, thanks, Ricky. No, that
No
was
problem.
that was actually really cool. But my only other pick was from the first episode, and it was Ed saying "stinky gas."
Yes. Stinky gas.
And then coughing.
Yeah, like
It's even better.
yeah. I'm a child, so that was my pick.
I like
I loved that. I have that
don't-
written all in caps in my notes too.
Yeah.
Just stinky gas.
Stinky gas.
He pulled up on that domino guy and he pulls out these two like ray gun looking things. What's going to happen next?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I could see Ed shooting somebody, like not maliciously, right? Like she would be like, "Oh, I got the gas gun," and she mistook it for like a pistol or something, right? Like I could see that, but I don't
Right.
feel like I could see her actually shooting someone,
Right.
And
I was gonna say Callie's point. She said, when my adoptive cousin sends me a package, he plasters it with duct tape. I spend 20 minutes trying to get into the last one. Always feels very retro. My grandma, it's a very special thing in our family. My grandma always wraps our stocking stuffers. So they're usually small things,
Mhm.
but it's just wrapped and wrapped and wrapped in masking tape. I'm like, Grandma, who do you think is trying to get into these stocking stuffers? Like, Seriously, I mean, the right person's going to get into that package. You know that for sure.
You have
But
to
he's
want it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's like, let's see how much my family really cares. Um, or maybe she's just has a fun personality, because that sounds like something that would be fun to do to everybody in your family, and then watch them all try to fix it at the same time.
Well, yeah, no, like I meant, like you've been to our Christmases. We have to take out the knife or the scissors
Yeah.
Comes
to open up our
Yeah.
stockings.
the festivities come to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
Speaking of screeching halts, I can't believe how well that worked.
Oh yeah, I was like,
so
oh,
we-
that's good.
So we don't have any other segment bumpers. I would like to get another segment bumper, but it's okay that we don't have one, because this season of Sudden But Inevitable is much more jazzy than the other seasons were. So that means that the next thing that we would normally do is give some big shouts for the bounty hunters, which are the people that have been loving and supporting and sharing and liking and listening all week for us across the network. Usually I do let you guys go first here, but this week I'm actually going to go first. I do not have a lot of shouts, which is a little bit new, right? Normally I have like a ton of them. And yes, we are going to rate the episodes. I wanted to have this moment before I forgot about it, because I didn't put either of these two things in my notes, and you guys know how I am. So the first thing that I want to do is say thank you to everybody who helped Josh and I with TMA PodCon 21. We had a lot of fun, and I'm going to let Josh talk about it more at length, but that's the kind of thing that, as it was happening, I had the biggest, dumbest grin on my face the whole time. I was really enjoying myself. I was getting really excited and nervous for, just to do a live show by myself, because I don't do that. I normally have this crew here to support me. But as I was watching the first segment, I was like, oh, we should have a shirt for this event. So I started putting a shirt together. And then by the time my segment started, we had a shirt ready to go. And that's the shirt that's included in the TMA PodCon prize box. Just FYI. And you can still buy that shirt on the Twist My Arm podcast shop. And it's very cool. It says TMA PodCon 21. It's got a little cloud on it and everything. But I would also like to say a deep, heartfelt, meaningful thank you to Meg and Carla from Bedwetter Behead. Ricky D and I, as we mentioned, guested with them this week, and we had just so much fun. Like, I love those two women more than I can probably express clearly on a podcast. But you remember them from season 1. They saved us when Josh and Kylie's cat ate something he shouldn't have ate, and they had to take him to the cat spittle. So we had no show that night and no way to do a show until we texted Meg and Carla from Bedwetter Behead. They texted me back and said, how long do we have to get ready? You're lucky that we love you, because we don't put on makeup for just anyone. And then we got that great bonus episode. So just want to say thank you to them again. We talked about the movie The Mummy, and that was a lot of fun. In that same vein, I have to say thank you to Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D, because going into that, Ricky D and I were chatting, and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this will be like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And then we had a typical SBI episode because I was there, and Meg and Carla were there, and you know how we are all with the digression. So I think we ended up going for 2 hours and 20 minutes, 2 hours and 30 minutes, Ricky. It was probably midnight for Carla by the time we signed off, because it was like 10:45 here. And first of all, Ricky, I'm sorry I kept you up that late. Second of all, thank you so much for going with me to that, because I had a ton of fun, and I feel like if I can bring my crew or part of my crew for those appearances, it really helps to communicate what makes our show so much fun. Because I think when I guest by myself, I have fun, but I don't know that it really communicates the dynamic of our show and what makes our show great. Because I think what makes our show great is the three of you in combination with me. I don't think any one of us could do this on their own, and I would assume you guys agree. But that's going to do it for me for my shouts. So I'm going to turn it over to Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D for his shouts, and then we'll go to Josh, then we'll go to Kylie, and then we're going to rate this episode, and we're going to get out of here.
All right. Well, I apologize for doubling down on what's already been said, but because I was on their podcast this week, I also wanted to thank Megan Carla, Bedwed Behead. If anybody listening to my voice is a little less familiar with them, they take a show. We did The Mummy, and you take 3 characters and decide who you want to bed, who you want to wed, and who you want to behead. And it's a very simple, very effective format, and it's such fun to listen to. So I just wanted to give a little bit more explanation on exactly what it is they're doing, and it's just a great concept. I love what they're doing.
It is. It's a lot of fun. You can always apply that to your favorite movies, your favorite shows, your best friends. That is really cool. And that's actually I haven't guessed it on anybody's show yet, but if I'm
We're-
going to, if and when,
We're thinking
I want
you
them
and
to, I want
Josh-
them to be my first.
Yeah, we were thinking
So-
you and Josh need to have an episode. That way we've had our whole show on
See,
their whole
Mhm.
show.
okay, I
Yeah.
guess that's true, and I think that would be fun. But I think it would be better for us to do it separate because we're talking about who we want to bedwet or
Holy
behead.
shit! Look at
We
that. She's
shouldn't
trying
do
to
it-
kick me out.
Dude,
Well, no,
she
we
does-
shouldn't do
yeah,
it as a
that's-
couple.
No, that's
You should do it
I'm
as a
cool.
couple.
You think so?
You
Yeah.
can
I
do it
mean,
yourself?
I am not opposed. Whatever the dynamic would be better, I say
What we
what I
could
think
eat.
we should do.
Is it just me or did things just get real?
Listen,
would
guys,
wanna
I think I'm gonna
drag
take
Josh.
that. I'm gonna take that advice. I'm gonna get out of here. You guys have a great night.
I mean, if I'm going to party at a different show, I'm not bringing Josh.
Oh my
Well,
god.
but if you
But
lived
what if I
with
want
Josh,
to do my own thing?
wow.
Hmm.
Okay.
Whoa.
Well, quickly, somebody say something.
Megan Carla hit up Kylie on Twitter and
right.
let her know when she can come on and do a bedwet and
We
behead.
can
'Cause
talk
apparently
about
I'm not allowed.
boys.
So
Okay,
Anywho, I was
Josh.
gonna say though, the mummy would be fun though because Brendan Fraser all day long.
would
Yeah,
you
yeah,
bedwet or behead him?
Well, it depends on who
It
we're
depends on
like.
who else is in. Okay, so
Exactly.
so
That's a
just-
whole nother.
if we could, I will give you 30 seconds here, Kylie.
Okay.
The trio was Brendan Fraser's character Rick, Rachel Weisz's character Evie, and Oded Fair's character Ardeth, the badass desert ninja pirate.
Super sexy.
Yeah.
Very
Okay.
capable.
All right.
Mm.
Okay. I think I got it. I think I got it.
Okay.
I would wed super sexy guy.
right.
I
Oh,
would
I'm sorry.
behead him.
No. I would wed Evie. I would have sex with the super sexy guy, and then I would behead Brendan Fraser.
That's what we all decided off with
Yeah,
Brendan
okay.
Fraser's head.
Okay.
think-
Not that I don't love him, and I do
Well-
love his character, but if I'd like definitely marry Evie, like duh,
Yeah.
and
we-
then sexy Arabic guy.
yeah. The rule of that show is you have to come to a consensus at the end, but it's not that that's what everybody picked. That's just the way that we ended up arguing to an agreement. So
Okay, I like it.
um,
I like
I
that
would
I'm at least
argue-
on the same page.
I would argue
Yeah.
heavily.
yeah. No,
would
Phil
m-
Phil agrees, and Phil is again right, just like he always is. So
Mhm.
I
Josh,
would
do you
marry
have
Brendan
any
Fraser.
big shouts for the bounty hunters this week?
I don't really. I've been giving
Oh,
a
that's
ton
right,
of
you got the-
shouts on a lot of different shows these last couple weeks.
Josh loves you all.
Who did you
I
who did you
do,
talk
I-
to on Twist My Arm this week?
So that's what I'm gonna get into. So first, thanks to Pixie, Next on Stage One, Sean, Cheap Seat Reviews, and Aaron. It's a Fandom Thing Pod for being on PodCon 21. Check out all of those videos on YouTube. There's a playlist for the PodCon, or if you just go to twistmyarmpodcast.com, you can find all the different videos up there as well. This last week, I had the Cobra Kai paintball team from Colorado on the Twist My Arm podcast, and we talked about some pretty fun stuff. It was great. It was Alex and Tyler. They're pretty funny dudes, and I learned a lot about what paintballing kind of entails, a little bit more than just shooting paintballs, I guess. But yeah, next week we had to reschedule my guest for next week, so I'm actually uploading all of the PodCon episodes as
Ooh.
podcasts. If you would like to listen to those, it's a lot of editing and a lot of 4 different shows to go through. So they'll start getting uploaded probably Tuesday or Wednesday, and you can check those out. But yeah, otherwise, if you go listen to the Marvel Canon Madness podcast, or this week it was the DC Canon Madness podcast,
What?
or if you listen to the Quest Flicks episode, or even the PodCon. Man, I've had so many shout outs over the last week. I'm shouted out.
Oh,
Oh, wordplay.
I knew that
Yeah.
was coming. Very cool. Rona in the chat says, my granny used to tie all presents up with string and very tight knots and would not allow us to cheat with scissors because you save the string for next year's presents. My grandmother does that as well currently, but only for some of us, and the others of us she just doesn't wrap because she's like, you don't respect the wrapping. So um
Fair.
with that all said and out of the way, my friends, I think we should rate these 2 episodes of Cowboy Bebop, and then we should let these fine, wonderful people in our live chat get home and get back to their real lives. What do you say?
Yes.
Sounds good.
All right, let's start with Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. What are your ratings for this week's episodes, my friend?
Mushroom Samba. I think it's time for me to break out the 10. I enjoyed the episode so much. I've been dancing around the 8.5 and the 9s, and I just loved this episode so much. It was so much chaos wound up in this amazing, humorous package. I got to go 10.
Fully
And
agreed.
For Speak Like a Child, it was a good episode. Felt a little fillery. I really enjoyed the ending of the episode. I'm going to go 7.75.
All
What a
right.
jerk.
10.75 out of 10. Miss Kylie, what are your ratings for this week's episodes?
So I want to say a 9.5 for Mushroom Samba. I just feel hesitant about giving it a 10. But it was really good. You got all the highlights of all the characters, personalities and things like that. It was funny, it was exciting. So 9.5 for sure. And then for Speak Like a Child, I'm thinking I want to say a good solid 8. I want to agree like it wasn't quite as exciting, but like I think that this is like probably one of the episodes that really does make me kind of tear up a little bit, like seeing Faye's reaction to just not even remembering any of this like good stuff that's happening. I don't know, just kind of like hit a little heartstring, you know. So for that reason, a good solid 8 for that one.
Yeah, to see that she's 100% justified in how defensive she is and the distances that she keeps people at is difficult to because it's so true to life, right? It's you can fully see where she's coming from, and that's kind of what makes it hurt. That's a very, very good point. Josh,
Totally.
I need 2 ratings from you, my friend.
The pressure. Well, since Kylie already ruined it, I'm gonna keep my original rating. I was gonna move it up to a 10. But the first one I'm gonna stick with what I wrote down, and that's a 9.8 out of 10. I just feel like I'm gonna have a more 10 worthy episode later on down the road. So I went with a 9.8 out of 10 for episode 17, session 17. And session 18, I went with an 8 out of 10. Same thing with that Kylie was saying. It was surprisingly emotional. I think as the episode was moving along, I was like, oh, all this work for a Betamax? Yeah, 6 out of 10. But then once they actually watched the video, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that
Oh,
that
crap.
bumps up the rating a little bit because that was a very, very emotionally charged and brilliant scene for sure.
I can dig it. Well, my rating for Mushroom Samba based purely on my level of enjoyment compared with other episodes and just in the moment mirth is also a 10. I 100% agree with Ricky D. If you get that instinct to just love a thing unabashedly all the way, then that's the time to bust out that 10 because there's no way to really say I'm saving my 10 for an objectively perfect episode, right? So as long as you had the best blast that you've had so far, I think that's the time to break it out. So I agree with you, Ricky, 100%. I give the first episode, Mushroom Samba, a 10 out of 10, which means that the sudden but inevitable rewatch gives that episode a 9.825 out of 10. That is possibly our
Dang.
highest rating so far.
Yeah.
Now, for the second episode, I think I'm going to have to stick right around where you guys are at. You're sitting in the 8 range there, and I think I'm going to go with an 8 as well, just because the pacing is different, but there's enough humor in it, and there's enough tangible, identifiable emotion that it really affects you more than just an episode of TV would, right? It's not a throwaway episode. It's not a filler episode. It's a little bit of a bottle episode. They do have more than one location, but not much more than one location, and it is slower paced, but I feel like it's 100% worth it for the emotional weight that we finally get to pair with Faye, and we finally get, like we were saying, Kylie, earlier, that explanation for maybe why she built some of the walls that she built and, you know, why she is the way that she is. So that means... Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say too, I know that we're watching these in pairs, but I just kind of felt like even though this was a more emotional episode, it did pair nicely with the previous, whereas it was still comical. It was a nice transition.
It's a good palate cleanser too.
Yeah, totally. So I think honestly, just like the just watching session that we had of this episode of Sudden was kind of a good one. So
100% agree.
Yeah.
I had a blast, actually, to
Totally.
the point that I watched both these episodes 3 times because Ricky D and I had them watched last week and ready to go.
Yeah, and I
was
bet you
like-
guys were so excited, and then you couldn't talk about all of it. Like
Right.
that must have been
So
tough.
then this
I'm
week,
sorry.
I was like, actually, I'm fine with that because I'm just going to watch these again. And now
Yeah.
I don't have to take notes. So
Yeah.
it was actually really great. So
Cool.
yeah. So that means that the crew of Sudden But Inevitable gives this episode, Speak Like a Child, a 7.87 out of 10.
Nice.
So I think we're kind of out of stuff to do, my friends. I mean, not forever, but for this week, I think
For today.
that's pretty much it. I mean, I will take this opportunity just to say one last big, warm, loving thank you to everybody that we've had in the live chat tonight. That's Rona D, that's Callie D, that's Sinacera, that's Phil, that's Podcast Father. There's been so many wonderful folks.
Valerie.
I want to say Valerie was here. I want to say happy birthday and thank you again to listener Marie. Happy birthday and thank you. Thank you again to Rosie. And it just, yeah, all of you wonderful people. We wouldn't have the experience with this show that we have without you. So thank you. Let's go for the order this week. Ricky D, Kylie, Josh. So, for the sudden but inevitable Rebop, I have been Jesse.
This is Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D.
This is Kylie.
This is Josh.
Life is but a dream.
Wait, is that it?